Hi, everybody. Hopefully you're having a nice Saturday night. It is 7:01 p.m. Pacific Standard Time here on the West Coast. I'm Mark Sugiyama from Eclectic Arts, and I'm here in Seattle, Washington. And this is, my version of the Eclectic Arts Virtual Studio. This is the Fun Table Sessions. I'm so excited to be able to bring this back. We did one last month, and this is number 2 of 2021. And this is number 21 overall since I started these last August of 2020. And so anytime you see this in the background, that means it's a fun table session. Everything else is where my backdrop and my paintings and all that kind of stuff are. So that's how people kind of know what's going on. So if you happen to be joining us and you want to join things and put questions into the chat in the comment section, then I always see those, and something if I want all the guests to actually be able to see it, then I will put it onto the screen. If you just want to kind of hang out and listen to what we're doing, that's cool too. And so let me actually do something real quick here. Oops. There we go. And yeah, that's kind of how it works. So I've got a lot of things that I've been doing media-wise, and so if you've had a chance to see any of the virtual interviews that I did this week, had 2 on Wednesday and I had 1 yesterday, and tomorrow's football, so I'm taking tomorrow off, and then but I have one at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Monday. That's with Emma Soldan from Serenia, which is a symphonic metal band from Norway, but she's French, so she's going to be connecting with me from France. It'll be like 6 p.m. her time, and I met Emma around 2018, and she's actually trained as an opera singer. So opera is actually her main thing. Hi, Industrial Girl 25. Good evening to you. Hopefully things are good down there in Los Angeles. Always good to see you. Thanks for joining us. And so Emma is on Monday, and then there's a question mark about Tuesday. I actually might be having a guest from London join me. She's trying to see if it's going to work for her schedule, so that may be kind of a last minute announcement. Wednesday is already set. I have a guest from Sweden, which is Andreas from the band Cray. I think it's Cray, not Craya. I have to find out. They're a melodic rock band. So if you remember kind of like 80s melodic rock stuff, if you fast forward it to 2021, that's what his band's been doing. And they're really, I really like their music. It's just kind of refreshing to hear this really nice melodic, big melodies, big choruses. And so he's going to be joining me from Sweden. So I'm kind of doing this whole like international thing. My guest was from Germany yesterday. Then we go to France on Monday. We go to Sweden on Wednesday. And then there's some other, Carl Garcia got called to set. So we had to reschedule his interview that was Thursday of this past week. He's going to be coming up next week. We're just trying to figure out what day and time works best for both of our schedules. And then the only other one that I have set, there's some people that are trying to get back to me about what they want to do, but there's another one that's set on the following Monday, the 15th of February, which I'm super excited about. Annika Van Giersbergen, who is from The Gathering and has been doing her solo work for a long time. She's probably one of my top 3 favorite vocalists of all time. She is going to be joining me for what I consider a publicity tour virtual interview, meaning that I have a set amount of time that I get to talk with her and will not be open-ended. But I met her in 2019, and it was kind of like a dream come true because I'm such a huge fan of her music and her voice and everything she does. So she is scheduled to join me, and I have to find the time. I think it's 11:30 in the morning on the 15th, but I'll be posting about that all over my socials. Yeah, so busy. It's one of those things, Industrial Girl, where I have the time right now because I know that time's gonna disappear when my day job changes. Probably in the next couple of weeks, maybe even sooner. And that way I won't have those times. So if a publicist says, hey, can you do something on Wednesday at noon? I'll have to say no. It'll be evenings and maybe weekends. But right now I've got this chunk of time that normally I wouldn't have available. So I'm trying to make the most of it. And yeah, so that works out great though, in terms of being able to schedule interviews and all that kind of thing. So if you keep watching things on Instagram, Eclectic Arts Media, one word, is where I post everything first, then Facebook second, and then I don't really use Twitter or anything else. Obviously, I have a YouTube channel because some of you might be watching this on YouTube right now. If you happen to have not followed, liked, or subscribed to any of my social media, that always helps. So that's great. Even particularly with YouTube, I'm finding out that the more subscription people I have, the better. You don't have to hit the notifications if you want to be getting emails sent to you all the time. But the subscription part definitely helps. And I think I'm at like 700, which doesn't sound like a lot, but considering I was at like 300 like a year ago or less than a year ago, there's definitely had some growth. So I would love to see that grow some more. And as we know, it is February now, and I'm not one to like to do this, but let me add this thing here. If you ever feel so inclined to help me pay for this service that I'm using, this is the PayPal me address to help out with any kind of tip or donation, only if you're in a position to do so and you feel so inclined. But it is a new month, so that always helps me keep this going until I can get a job where I don't have to ask people to keep doing tips or donations. And I do have my first tip came in after Friday's interview from Ken. So Ken, thank you for making a tip. That's going to help me move into March with these things. So I'll just kind of leave that there for right now. And I'm subscribed on YouTube. Perfect. I just prefer Twitch. Yeah, I totally get that. So whatever works for you and the platforms that you're watching from. And I know some people kind of watch from multiple things. They have one thing on and another one on and all that. But the fun table sessions will always be something that I want to do. It just becomes a scheduling thing. Some people can do it, some people can't. Even for myself, sometimes a Saturday may not work. I might have to look at a Friday and that kind of thing. And hi, Ken. I see you giving me the thumbs up. So yeah, you were the first donation that I got. So again, thank you for doing that. I really appreciate you checking out Marina's interview and helping support Eclectic Arts Media and what I've been doing with all of these interviews and this fun table tonight. So let's get to the fun table guests, because I'm itching to drink my beer and also talk to the guests, obviously. So if you have any kind of questions and you want to put them in the chat about any of the guests or something just in general you want to get our opinion on, that's what the comment section is for. So let's start with our brand new guest who has, this is her first fun table. And she joined me was it last Sunday? I want to say it was last Sunday when we did our virtual one-on-one interview. And she has a theater background, and she's also in the healthcare industry. And I love talking to her. So when our interview was done, we talked a little bit further offline, and here she is tonight. So I might have to go get me a drink. Yeah, obviously I'll be drinking something besides, well, I'll be drinking this beer. But anyway, so let's bring in Amy Susynski as our first guest. So let me find her in my little telephone here. Dun, dun, dun. Hi, Amy.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm fabulous. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for joining me and joining the fun table. And
thank you for having back. That was fun.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here. And yeah, I always have a good time with these things. And it's just a nice break from just everything that's going on out there.
Yep.
Yeah, so let's see. Let's bring in our second guest. We'll do ladies first. So the second guest has been a part of the fun table back when we had 3 photojournalists, and I want to say that was October. And she's somebody that I met roughly a year ago. We were just talking about this pre-show at Sinead O'Connor. We were both shooting that show and covering it at the Neptune. And so she's an amazing photojournalist, and she's probably one of the few, I don't know, maybe the only photojournalist that I know locally that covers a lot of the events that are happening in society, which is always fascinating to me. So it's not all about concerts and everything else, which she does a fantastic job of, but it's also some of these other things with the current events that were going on last year and continue to go on. So we're going to bring in Lisa Hagen Glynn. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Mark. Good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us and being here at the fun table for 2021.
Thank you. Hi, Amy.
Hi.
Yeah, so let's see. Bernadette Peters' doppelganger. Oh, for Amy, that's right. Because Industrial Girl is the one who was watching last when we did the interview, and she mentioned that you have a resemblance to Bernadette.
I'm blushing. Thank you.
Yeah, and I see her saying hi to Lisa as well, so that's good too. And we'll bring in our veteran of this session of the fun table. Carlos is, I just said his name, so bad of me. But he is a ballet dancer with the Olympic Ballet Theater, and he is also has a baseball background, and he's also involved with the healthcare first responder industry, and he's going to be joining us for maybe the 4th or 5th time, and it's always fun when he's with us. So let's bring in Carlos, as I say his name properly here. There Come on, there we go.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Carlo.
The surprise.
Yeah, I think this is the first time I actually botched up an intro by saying the guest's name before I actually had them join. How you doing over there?
Good, good. How's everyone? Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
Hi, Amy.
Yeah, let me get this banner off of here. There we go. Yeah, thanks so much for joining me. So this is kind of the local Northwest edition of the Fun Table tonight, but everyone's got different areas of expertise and things that they like to do. So we're kind of here. Bad Mark, bad. Yeah, I know. I mean, I did so well with introductions until tonight, and I haven't had anything. I'm stone cold sober right now too. So it's just me and my squishy brain. But yeah, so Industrial Real nice that you're here. And so, Carlos, I know you're originally from San Francisco. Is that what the hat that you're wearing right now?
Yeah, San Francisco Giants.
Okay. All right. Oh, there's the baseball thing. Okay. And before I forget, what are people drinking? Are you drinking alcohol? Are you drinking water? What are people drinking?
This is actually, it's a German soda. In Germany, it'd be called a Spezi, which I actually had a cat named after, rest in peace. It's Coca-Cola and some type of orange soda that you mix together if you're going to make it, because you can't buy it in the States. So it's quite fun. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. And then Lisa,
Mm-hmm.
looks like
Sounds
you
good. Yeah. So this is a red wine, and it's just a mysteriously named red blend. So I have no idea what that means. It's okay.
Okay,
And then
nice.
I'm drinking an apricot ale by Pyramid Brewing.
Okay, so we got the beer thing, and then I'm drinking, let's see if I can do this right. It's Flannel Channel from Sea Pine, which is on First Avenue. It's their winter ale, and it's pretty tasty. It's a little hoppy for a winter beer, but it still tastes good, so that's all I care about. And I see Industrial Girl Jameson and Diet Coke, okay, hitting the spirits down there in East LA. So yeah, well, cheers to everybody. Here's to better days.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
Oh my gosh. So how are things? You know, we're a month and almost a week into 2021, and things are feeling pretty good for you guys personally. Where you're kind of moving, are they kind of the same, or they hopefully haven't gotten worse? But
I think we're moving in a positive direction. There may be a few bumps ahead still, but I've been really excited to see so many people getting vaccinated. Finally, that's an option, and the opportunities for live music coming back at some point feel closer each day. So, I know that's something that you enjoy too, Mark, and really have missed this year, not being able to hear live music and photograph. And so I hope it'll be safe again soon.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, here. I'm wearing my Keep Music Live shirt, so
Great.
hopefully we get to a point where I run into you at the Neptune Theater again, or anywhere again, photographing shows and reviewing shows. And Amy, Carlos, how are things for you guys?
Things are a little better. 2021 started with a bang, and the vaccine came out, which is fast. I've gotten both of mine. I survived. I'm fine. And there was kind of a lot of fear with how to get the vaccine, and that's calming down. I think people know that's coming, and now that stress has calmed down, I think everything is kind of mellowing out. Things are definitely coming. I've got my T-shirt on, my donkey, that I think is from Midsummer Night's Dream. So that's my ready for outdoor theater, particularly Shakespeare. So that's what I'm waiting for.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, it's nice to see that. The vaccines are going out and at a fast pace too. So hopefully things do get better. I'm excited to see live theater. Granted that Rowan and I moved to Lower Queen Anne, and we have Seattle Rep right there, Pacific Northwest Ballet. So we have everything there, and everything's closed. So really looking forward to that. Looking forward to going to the new Crocodile location.
Oh yeah,
Seeing live music too, and being optimistic.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way, that I think we're going to start seeing things just slowly get better as this year progresses. And so some of those things, however that looks like, we'll start getting them back in small doses, if that's some sort of a live event, if that means outdoor theater, in the summertime or something. And I see that Industrial Girl's talking about numbers are going down there, and lockdown is over in LA. So, but she's still staying home and waiting on the vaccine. So, yeah, I think there seems to be like we've turned some sort of corner. Whatever that corner is, it seems like we've kind of turned it, and hopefully we keep turning more corners, and then we can all end up like, hey, we're actually in person around each other, and not giving things to people that we don't want to be giving things to. So. Yeah. And so what's been something positive for all of you guys so far? Anything?
Actually, for me, a few weeks ago, I spent about 10 hours giving vaccines to first responders. I'm a nurse, but I'm not ER, ICU. I'm definitely not answering 911 calls. So I get to spend about 10 hours doing it, and it was the most jazz, positive thing ever. People were crying. They were so happy to get that vaccine, taking pictures to send to their parents or post on social media, because it's the beginning. It's the light at the end of the tunnel. And it was a long day. It was busy. We get thousands of doses. There was nonstop, but it was so much fun. And to finally have something to feel and be positive about and energetic about was absolutely fabulous. Every single minute of it.
Awesome. That's awesome to hear about. Anyone else have anything that kind of made you smile, or made you feel extra good about some things in the last month or so?
I was going to say finally finishing my course, which I waited for over a month and a half. So it's definitely something exciting. I'm also happy, people are getting vaccinated, and it's one step closer to seeing loved ones, which we haven't been able to do in a year. So. Yeah,
it's strange to think about that kind of thing. And like with my immediate family, normally for me, we don't do like some big Super Bowl party, but I'm usually at their house, my parents' house. And so we end up doing this thing where we're going to figure out how to bring the snacks to each other like we normally would in some spot, and then we go back to our separate ways. So I'll be back here, they'll be there, my brother and his wife will be there. It's exactly what we did for Christmas, exactly what we did for Thanksgiving. So it's like we see each other from a distance, have some sort of exchange, and then boop, off we go back to our little dwellings. Well, my little dwelling, not theirs. They have nice dwellings. But you do what you have to do just to make sure that we can eventually go back to next year being in the same house with the big screen on and too much junk food and everything else that I would normally do on a Super Bowl Sunday. Lisa?
Yeah, I'll say that the signs of spring have felt really hopeful for me and really positive. We've finally got a little bit of light in the evening. It's not just, get up in the dark, go home in the dark, that sort of thing. And so it's staying light enough to go on a walk in the evening. And today I saw some little crocuses and maybe even some daffodils starting up. So I'm excited about that for spring coming, but also for photography. I really like taking sort of abstract photos of flowers. So it's a nice start to kick off the flower season, if you will.
That sounds awesome. I know the exact same thing, because when I go to my part-time survival job, I'm usually leaving around 5:30, and it's like not pitch black. It's getting dark, but it's like, oh yeah, that means it's getting a little longer and a little longer, and it's nice to see that. And it's those small things I kind of took for granted. And I don't take it for granted anymore. It's something that helps me feel better about things, and where we're moving to, later into this year. And I see Ken. Ken's my good friend. We knew each other back in junior high, if not 6th grade, and so we're metalheads. And he moved to Houston with his family, but he didn't know that the Crocodile Cafe moved. And Ken, they were trying to renew that lease and everything, is my understanding, in the existing location, and that was a no-go. But luckily, they managed to find a location, I think, just like a block down, and I don't know, north or south on First. So they're going to be in a pretty good position, at least compared to maybe some of the other venues around here. I don't know if they're going to be able to survive this, but the Crocodile is going to be opening its doors again when it's safe to do so, which is awesome. Oh yeah. Well, Yeah, and that corner is cool. Okay. So, I guess I didn't say anything, did I? About what's been positive for me. Oh gosh. I guess I'm looking at some of it right now. So I've been doing the virtual interview still, and I love doing that with everybody. And all of you have interviewed at some point during last year or this year. And one band was inspiring me to try something new artistically. And I'm not a drawer or a painter. I've never considered myself one of those people. Like when we used to play Pictionary back in the day, nobody wanted me on their team because they knew I couldn't draw anything. But I decided to try some painting for the heck of it because of being inspired, and it's actually on my wall. So like anytime I'm doing interviews now, people see the stuff back there and they can kind of ask like, what is it or where did it come from? And it's like, well, I can tell them that story about here's this band I interviewed and here's this thing I did. And I still have more supplies to work with. So I'm probably going to start messing around with it a little bit more, and took me completely out of my comfort zone. But I'm like, yeah, this isn't horrible. So I'm going to put it up and just know that it's something to kind of build off of. But at the same time, more importantly, it was trying something new and not just things stuck in a rut of doing the same things over and over again. And I never want to be like that. And is the off ramp still there? El Corza, Ken, yeah, it's still there with the fun house. I don't know for how long. Hopefully they can weather this too. I mean, there was talk that they were going to close down and get revamped at some point before COVID happened. And I don't know where they're at with that now. So if that venue goes away for all the metalheads locally, we're going to be in big trouble because we already lost Studio 7. And then if we lose that one, which is about similar size, I don't know where those bands are going to get booked. So you might have to go to Portland or go up to Vancouver for that. So, but right now it's still there. I still see them posting on Facebook about asking for donations for their staff and anything else they can do. And they've been hosting some live streams to get some revenue coming in. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see which ones are still standing. Once we come through this, hopefully all of them. But I don't think that's necessarily realistic. I think there's going to be a couple casualties when it comes to the venues. I can't wait to get back to the bar I frequented. Industrial Girl, was that Bar Sinister down there that you were frequenting, or a different bar? And I want to get back to my drawing. Okay, that's cool. So yeah, I guess that would be a positive for me, and that I am still able to do these things. This has been a lot of fun for me. I mentioned that during 2020, my, if you want to call it, network of people has grown exponentially because of this. And so now, hopefully, when a band comes to town, or if there's a musical that comes to town, or a director happens to be here doing something, I can say, hey, remember me from 2020? We did a virtual interview, and hopefully they don't run the other direction, and we can try to actually meet in person and do whatever we're going to do. But yeah, I've been really, really fortunate to have these kind of experiences during one of the most trying times of my life. So that's definitely been a plus. Oh boy. And I was just talking with my immediate family earlier today that they were talking about like the different shows they've been watching, like on Netflix and TV and that kind of stuff. And I, as most people know, I've been reviewing movies. So when I'm watching my television, it's basically because I have to, because I have a movie to review. I don't really watch things for fun other than sports. And so I don't know, are people still watching shows? Or is there something that you're like, oh man, I just binged that thing and it's really good, or it was really bad, don't watch it? Or I'm in the wrong area when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Rowan and I just finished watching The Watchmen, the series on HBO, and started watching, what's it called? Queen's Gambit on Netflix.
Is the Watchmen series based on the comic book or something different?
I think it's based on it. It pulls parts from the comics, but it's its own story.
Oh, okay.
But I really liked it.
Okay, cool. Anybody else? Anything you've seen?
Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of Outlander and loving every minute of it. And then I've got Gambit and Bridgerton, which is getting all the award nominations, and I might be getting that backwards, whatever the nominations are, but that's kind of where I am right now.
We don't watch a lot of TV, but we've been doing a whole lot of nature shows lately. Netflix and some of the other streaming services have added some really fun ones in, and there was also a great one about the planets that I saw right before the holidays, and really recommend that one. I think it was something that'll come out on PBS or somewhere else, but yeah, really worthwhile. I was surprised.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and like Carlos mentioned, that Industrial Girl said Cobra Kai, which I've seen the first 2 seasons of. I have not seen the third season, which came out in January. And for local, if you don't know what Cobra Kai is, it's based on the Karate Kid films with Ralph Macchio. And so they basically moved to the present day about what these characters be doing. And it's done so well because everything makes sense. And they also have like the young versions because they have kids now and that kind of thing. So there's some kind of drama there. And for people, if you know Yuji Okamoto, who played the villain in the second Karate Kid film, he lives here locally. So I kind of know Yuji. He owns Kona Kitchen, which is in Seattle and Linwood. And so they brought him back for the series. So his character came back, all these years later. And that's what's awesome is like almost every actor that was in those movies is still around, still doing, they still look good. And it's like, man, so they brought Elizabeth Shue back. They brought all these people back. And it's so awesome that they're doing that. And I have not watched season 3, like I mentioned, so I need to, eventually I need to do that. And there's my mom saying, I love Cobra Kai. And Industrial Girl, Faith, the Wick Saga, a little Twilighty, but it's better. Okay, it's Gambit is so good. My son and some of his friends are into chess now. Oh, okay. Nice. Well, there's a positive that came from watching a show that now your son's into chess. Okay, cool. I used to work with a guy that was really into chess. So when we were working with at-risk youth down in South Seattle, he was teaching them how to play chess. And he was one of those guys that we'd have like maybe 10 tables of students, and they'd all be having their stuff set up. And he'd go one table to the next, do his move, and just be able to basically clean the floor with all of them. And I don't know chess very well at all. I'd sit there and try to watch and see, I understand what he was doing, but he was so into it. But the kids loved it. They said, one of these times you're going to come to my table, I'm going to get you. You're not going to get my piece, this piece. Yeah, it was great to see those guys because most of them had never been exposed to chess at all. So it's like, yeah, anything that we choose to do, I want to make sure that they had an opportunity to do those kind of things. I remember we baked Christmas cookies, something I took for granted that they had no experience of that. I remember talking to them, what do you guys normally do during the holidays? And said, nothing, just nothing. It's not a good time for them. I said, did you ever bake cookies? And like, no, never done that. And or you have one kid who'll say, you mean like cutting up a log of dough? I'm like, no, I mean from scratch. Have you ever done that? And they'd say, no. So I'm like, well, okay, well, there's an idea. Let's go figure out where we can get any place that has a kitchen and an oven, then we'll go do it. And we found a local church that let us come in. And you have all these gang-banging kids that have all these supposed horrible reputations, and they got flour on their face, and they got aprons on, and they got all that stuff. And they loved it. And they were so nice enough to want to bring cookies back to our office staff and give some to them. That came strictly from the kids, not from me. And then they obviously enough to bring home for their families and everything. And it's one of the best memories I have of working in South Seattle with that at-risk population of students. Is I wish I had pictures. I really screwed up by not taking pictures of them having fun and just doing something, being kids. Again, doing something I forgot about. And my mom's saying, yeah, Queen's Gambit is good too. Okay, I guess a lot of people are saying Queen's Gambit and Cobra Kai are the two that our people are really loving. And I haven't seen Queen's Gambit at all. And yeah, Cobra Kai again. I need to see season 3. So, oh man.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Mark, maybe it's a good thing you didn't take pictures. You just got to relish the whole experience, and
Yeah, there's that, definitely the truth to that kind of thing, where you just have the memory and the experience of doing it instead of being caught up in trying to snap shots of somebody while they're doing things. I think it's just because my memory's starting to fail me. It was my having pictures to actually look at of something. But yeah, it was a really good memory for me. And when I talk about it now, I think, wow, that was one of the best Decembers I'd had as a teacher. Was doing that kind of thing with those kids, and we had gifts for them and all that kind of thing too. So worked out well. Oh man, but I watch too much TV. that's coming from my mom. Yeah, mom. No comment from me. And if you guys have anything you want to throw out there in the chat or of my guests, it definitely doesn't have to come from me. I can go back to my questions that I used to do if you want me to pull up some of those. I don't know if you want me asking them. they're getting kind of goofy. But I remember one off the top of my head. Actually, we had one about if you were a vegetable, what vegetable would you be?
I'm gonna go with green onion. If that's is an onion a vegetable. If an onion is
I think it
vegetable, I'm
counts.
gonna go with green onion. If not, avocado, but I think that's a fruit. Okay.
Okay. Is there a reason behind the green onion, Amy?
You know what? It was the first thing that popped in my head, so that's normally what you're supposed to go with. I would say probably because it's tall and flavorful. Everybody likes it, adds a lot of flavor, but it's new by dish everybody likes. Yeah.
Okay, that's nice. Anyone else got something that?
Probably say a potato. I don't know. I don't know. It's so versatile. I think you could just.
Okay, the versatile potato can do lots of things with it. You can make vodka with it.
Good thought. Boy, this is a tough one. I think I'll go with a winter squash, though. They're, I don't know, durable, I guess. They weather all seasons and stick around.
Okay, that's cool. I know when we did ask that question before, some of the folks had like really interesting reasons why they picked what they picked. And then I remember I did one with, no offense to Carlos, because I think being a potato is perfectly fine. But we had one where we had a couple guys. It was like a guys kind of thing, and we had like the dumbest answers that had no reasoning behind them whatsoever. And one of the guests was like, "Yeah," because I told them about what some of the other guests had said that were female, and they're like, "See, they had really smart answers because they had something behind why they picked it." And we were just saying, "Well, I like carrots, so that's why I would be a carrot." Like that. Taters and
It's
sandwiches.
supposed to go with like the first thing that pops in your head is supposed to be the right answer.
There we go. Then I always say onion, and I don't, not because of the layer, just because I like onion. So if I could have said because of the layers and I'm all that, but yeah, I'm an onion kind of person. Boil it, mash it, stick it in a stew for taters. Okay, industrial girl. Oh my God. Well, there's that list. I see it right now. When was the last time you used a cuss word?
Probably like 2 hours ago, I'd say.
Probably yesterday at work, but behind the scenes. I don't swear at home, and I definitely don't swear in front of patients either. But behind the scenes, things do slip out.
That makes sense for sure.
No more than 2 hours ago, I'm sure. So I think I'm with industrial girl here, but not in the last 34 and a half minutes in any case.
Yeah, I know for me, it's probably, maybe within an hour. And then definitely I'm kind of the same thing with what Amy was saying, that when I'm at work, there's not a lot of people around me. So I had made a mistake with my cleaning materials. And that's when I'm like, some expletives came out, but no one was around to hear them, thankfully. And then industrial girl 2 minutes ago. Oh, goodness. Okay. Yeah, and I was talking to, Lisa's changed up her area that she's on when she's doing this right now. And then Amy, I'm kind of looking behind what you have going on in your setting. And
that is, if I can show you what, that's one of my husband's paintings. He's an oil painter. And that's actually one of my favorites. I try to claim all of his paintings, and I can't get sold and sent, to other countries and colors and things like that. But that one's called Magda, and that's one of my favorites.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he's really talented. So I've got some really fun things on my walls.
Nice. Now, does he do gallery showings too of his work, or has he done?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, gallery shows, group shows. Obviously, in COVID, everything's been virtual, but some virtual shows as well. Sent things to other countries and things like that. It's really fun. I've got some gorgeous. Some of my paintings, as I call them, get bullet.
Okay,
So
cool.
part of it. It's really fun to see, anything from dance photography, everything, to see the start to finish, from the concept to the final product and everything in between. The conception, sketching and how it changes. It's really fun.
Nice. And then, Lisa, in your background, are those things that you took, or just other things that are on your walls there?
Yes, I can scoot out of the way if you want to see here, but I've got my diplomas here, and then that's a photograph that I did here, actually, of Seward Park in the fog. So that's the sun coming through the fog down at the lake. They cut down that tree, sadly. It was very sad to see it go. And then here I have my late dachshund, our late dachshund. He was a senior when we adopted him, and so we miss him all the time, but this is a way of bringing him in every day.
Oh, nice. I keep saying that I need to get prints made of some of my work, because I haven't. I have a few things from my model photography days, but my concert stuff, I have nothing, not one print of anything. Like, dang, because every time I talk to other photo folks, they got something on their walls that they've taken, and I'm, where's my stuff? And I don't have any, but I need to remedy that.
It's also crazy. I was going to say, because I found out Costco is closing down their print services, and they used to do some great prints.
Yeah, I heard the same thing. I think one of the other media people had posted that, like, on Facebook, about that. If you've been using Costco as your photo place, I think it may have been moving online or something. But if you're trying to do it in person, they're going to be closing all that stuff down. So that's unfortunate. I have signed concert posters on my walls. Okay, I have some signed stuff on my walls too over here, but they're just 8x10s of people I've met, and there's a CD that Jeff Bridges signed for me, and some other stuff, just photo passes. And Lisa knows this, that we're not supposed to be posting photo passes or whatever. But I have some of the better ones on the wall. So
got a whole pile of them here. They're always nearby. Good memories.
I have a shoebox with most of mine in there, and then the ones that have like a graphic on them, those are the ones I put on my wall, so I can kind of look at them because they're more interesting. But I think Bill Bungard did the best thing that I've seen so far, is that he had a photo book, so he would put them into a photo album, and he can flip through them and see all these different photo passes he has. And I want to get another photo pass soon. I miss being able to go to the ticket area at any club or arena, and I'm on the guest list, and here's your photo pass, and here's where you get to go, and first 3 songs or whatever it is. No, I want that back. A generic one, whatever. I want another photo pass. It's been
out of curiosity, Mark and Lisa, so how do you go about getting a photo pass? What's the process like? Do you need credentials before even getting them? And
that's a great question. For me, I can say it really has depended on the venue and the band, and actually the publication. Typically, they won't give credentials if you're not working for a publication, if you're not on assignment. So that's sort of the first big step. But after that, it's really an interpersonal process. So you get in touch with whoever it is that's managing publicity for that band, that tour, or in journalism, sometimes the PR people for an event. And sometimes they'll have you bring in your own credential, so some sort of a pass that you have, but a lot of the time they will give you a sticker or something to put in a little holder, and then you wear that during the show. Sometimes a wristband too.
Nice.
No, for you, Mark, though.
I'd only add, for me, being freelance the entire time that I've been doing this kind of thing, that the process is basically the same. And so if someone wanted to know what Eclectic Arts was, when I first started off, there really wasn't much to say about it because I'd only been doing interviews and I didn't have any kind of photography background. So I got lucky that one of the interviews I did, the PR folks offered to have me shoot the show. And I wasn't even thinking about that. I was just trying to get the interview on the tour bus. And then I was going to pay for a ticket to go watch the show. And they said, oh, no, Mark, we just put you on the guest list. It's going to be you, 2 people, how many people? And for me, at least, I found that's pretty rare for concerts. They usually always just say it's 1. They don't try to give you 2 or 3 because a lot of people take advantage of the system by bringing their, hey, I can go bring you to the show box and you can come see this band. It's like, they want to avoid that, obviously, because all of those things are tracked, so they know how many things were given to somebody and where that cost is coming from. So there's some accountability built in there. But once I got things started, for me, it was definitely like finding the right person was half the battle. So like if you have the right publicist, the right manager, because you might be trying to email somebody for a while and you don't hear anything. Then it turns out that's not even the right person. They moved on to somebody else. And that's been probably the hardest thing that I thought, well, if you're working with them for this album and tour, aren't you working for them for the next one? Not necessarily. And you'll have exceptions to that. We have someone who's been a publicist for an artist for 20 years. But yeah, it changes a lot. But once you find that person and you have some credentials on a resume to kind of show your work and samples, like I know you're a photographer as well, Carlos, and a musician, then it's trying to basically pitch what you can do for them. That here's something I've done in the past. If you haven't done anything in the past, when you can, try to cover local bands if you can. Get out there and have something to show. Doesn't matter if it's a local rock band playing in front of 3 people. Still get there, befriend those bands, take photos of them. Maybe you'll get a nod to actually do some paid work to do promo shots for them or an album cover or whatever. And then if you start trying to get the touring bands, then you start working your way up. And so it really is about trying to find the right people. And then if they like your work and you're being responsible, then they might start sending you press releases of new things that are coming up, new bands. I found for the film work that I did, once I got one, then next thing I know, I've got a second film company. Then I had a third film company. But at the same time, if you don't do the work and don't do it well, whatever they're looking for, then they'll just dismiss you and you'll be off those lists and you may not get back on them. So it's like, here's your shot, make the most of it, and then try to build off of it. And Lisa and I know this. Try to network with the people that you meet at these shows, the other media folks for sure. So I mean, I was sitting there at the Neptune for Sinead O'Connor, and I remember Lisa came walking through the aisle, trying to find her seat, and I'm like, am I the only media person? I was thinking about that for the longest time because I didn't see anybody else I knew. And then she came and she had her backpack and she sat down, introduced herself. She was super nice. I don't know if I was super nice that night, but she was really nice.
Yeah, it was fun to chat with you.
Yeah, so we kind of got to talk to each other about what we do and who we shoot and who we know and all that kind of thing. And then because you're going to see these people again, and so you don't want to be, you don't have to be best buddies, but you have to be a professional courtesy. And hopefully it's going to be something where you are also just basically not being a jerk. Everyone's got a job to do. Everyone's got an assignment to do. It doesn't matter if you're getting paid or not paid. Everyone's got to do something. And luckily around here, and maybe Lisa's had the same experience, we have some really fantastic people around here that I've gotten to know that are really giving and helpful, and just they're just fun to be around. And it doesn't matter who they're covering or what they're covering. So if you're trying to get credentialed for a show, try to have something to show. And again, you can do that anywhere. Even if Rowan's taking pictures of you playing guitar, I know something so you have, because you can imagine how many times they get emails from people saying, "Oh yeah, I'm a photographer," or "Oh yeah, I do this kind of thing." It's like, well, where is it, and how can we see something you've done? And then even like with the Phoenix Theater, where I saw Amy a year and a couple months ago, or however long that was. I first started covering the arts, what I consider the art side, the musical theater side, and plays and things. I started off with the Paramount, the Broadway Paramount series. And so I went to Taproot, and then I reached out to Driftwood, which is here in Edmonds where I live, and then the Phoenix Theater is also in Edmonds. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes it was almost instant that they said yes, and sometimes I didn't hear anything from people. So I had to keep following up and being professionally polite is what I call it, politely persistent, and kind of seeing where it gets you. The Seattle Rep, there's a perfect example. I love the show that I saw there. They immediately put me in, And then I said, hey, I'd like to be on your press list. So for future performances, I would love to come back. I thought it was awesome. And I said, great, we'll turn you over to the publicist that works with us. Everything died at that point. And I'm not going to go into the specifics why, but it wasn't from my end. I'll tell you that was. It wasn't for a lack of trying. And so after a while, I just gave up because there's too many other things that I'm already doing that are not making me do this runaround kind of business. So you're going to get probably a lot of no's, a lot of don't hear from's, and then eventually you'll start getting yeses, and then maybe you'll get a reason for a no. And then even now, I still will randomly get, I'll send stuff out, I'll follow up a week later, don't hear anything. And it's like, okay, I'll just move on to the next one. So that's just from my side of things.
That's awesome. No, yeah, I always felt like it's so cool seeing the photographers, they're capturing those special moments in performances.
So much fun. Yeah, it's just really an honor to be there and be a part of it. And I'm so glad that they allow press at shows, because I think it's so important for history. For one, these are the things that everybody will look back at. Just like I was watching a show about the history of jazz this week, and someone took all these photos. That art couldn't have been captured photographically if they didn't have photographers there. So it's really important, I think.
Especially from my end, I don't have, I'm not a painter. I don't have a tangible craft that I can hold in my hand for forever. Shows are rarely videotaped, for copyright purposes. So when we do have photographers there capturing, those magical moments, things that we feel as actors but don't get to see when we do actually see that side of it. It is so much fun. There's things we really do absolutely treasure, share with our family and friends, to be able to have that moment in time. We might not be able to have the whole show or anything, but to have that little bit is priceless for us. So we very much appreciate it. And we do get excited when photographers come. We do. It's super fun. We put a little bit into that, of course, because we know it's happening. It does capture the magic for us to see and look back on, and that's really, really fun.
Nice. Yeah. And I'm seeing that Industrial's talking about that she started her own blog for journalism, and because she needed a place to put her stuff up. And I was in a similar boat, only that I used to have I did print issues of Eclectic Arts. The first 3 things were actually hard copy prints. And do I know how to lay out a fanzine magazine? No, I had no clue. And I rarely would actually let somebody look at one of those now in terms of flipping through it, because it looks so bad. But at the same time, it was this launching point of getting into all these other things. And like I mentioned about the painting, it's like I had to start somewhere. So let's just kind of dive in and see what happens. And I got really fortunate that things kept happening. And I'm never in competition with other media people. I don't look at it that way ever. I'm always in competition with myself. That's how I drive myself forward. I'm happy to see other people do great work and be associated around those people, rubbing shoulders with them in a photo pit. When I look at their work and go, oh my gosh, that's so freaking awesome what they do. And why am I even in the same vicinity as them? But it's like, well, I'm here for a reason. I have to kind of realize that I was put there and okay or approved to be there. So, hey, not to pat myself on the back, but it's like, bring your A game too. Do what you need to do, and then keep pushing that forward. So I'm fortunate that I think just in general that however you choose to do your business from the get-go. So like Carlos, if I'm talking to you about if you want to be a concert photographer, and I know this from talking to you for hours now, doing fun tables, that you're a really good person, you got a really great personality, and I think you take care of business. So make sure that stays your foundation into anything that you do moving forward, because that will start permeating everything that you do work-wise, and that's how you start leveling up and getting bigger and bigger assignments and things that you want. If you're doing shoddy work, if you're not communicating with people about, hey, I know the deadline's on Friday, and it looks like I'm not going to hit it till Saturday. I apologize for that. If it's coming from you instead of the publicist having to track you down, it's always better if you let them know, because you already know you're going to be late. And I try never to be late with anything, but stuff happens sometimes if there's emergencies. But I think people that I've done virtual interviews with, again, why would they even say yes to me that normally it's all through a publicist, but during COVID, it was a little bit of a free-for-all that I could directly contact somebody, and some of them were getting back to me. So, oh yeah, Mark, I remember you, and we did that one interview for 10 minutes at the Paramount or whatever, and like, what do you got going on? I was like, well, I'm doing this virtual interview, and I'd love to have you come on as a guest. And some of them said yes, some of them said no, which is okay. But just the fact that they would even entertain the idea told me that what I did, 2-3 years ago even, I must have done something right, because they didn't immediately just dismiss me now. And so I think that's what helps kind of propel things. Do things the right way, whatever that way happens to be for you, and things will start coming to you. But if you don't do it the right way, then, this is a small community around here. It's going to get around that you're a jerk, or you don't follow through with what you do, or you're bad-mouthing other people, whatever it is. And again, knock on wood, I have not heard about that from anyone that I've encountered. They've been really great people to be around here in this arts community.
Yeah, it's crazy because in the dance world, it's that small too. Even though it's a big community, like if you're bad with one company, and other directors will hear about this and won't hire you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, why work with a bad person when you can work with a good person? I mean, that's what it kind of comes down to, really. And I'm seeing industrial girls talking about, oh, yours was print too. That's why you scanned some articles. Industrial, I'd love to see you do some, whatever it is. I know you're talking about writer's block, but I know one thing for me, which might sound really ridiculous, but anytime I try to get through writer's block, I just literally write about what I'm doing. I'm at 7:52 on Saturday night. I am doing this. I'm drinking a beer and I'm talking to 3 wonderful people. And it might seem really ridiculous, but that helps get my brain working in the writing area. And it's never failed me just to write about anything. I'm taking a shower at 8. Well, it sounds real journalistic, but it really starts getting my juices working to write what I need to write. So like, I've got a movie review. I'm looking at that movie right now because I watched it last night. I need to write about it. Maybe later tonight, or maybe tomorrow. Later tonight might not be a good idea, depending on how many beers I have. That would be an interesting review. This movie was awesome. I loved it. I want to meet the director, and it turns out it wasn't so good. But yeah, it's just that's kind of, I do that in my personal journal. Okay, well, if you're doing that in your personal journal, industrial, that's great, and maybe you can start having that move itself over to whatever topic you're trying to get past with the writer's block, because every writer encounters it at some point, but you can get past it. I know that much. So wow, yeah, makes me miss all the media stuff. Oh gosh, because this is early February, so we had Sinead O'Connor. I was right back with the Neptune the very next night for Queensryche. I remember Todd LaTorre is their singer, and I remember he went and fist bumped me right there in the photo pic because he recognized me and he knew me, and we just did an interview like 2 weeks ago virtually. And here's an example for you, Carlos. So typically for when a publicist tells me for interviews, they'll say, Mark, you have X amount of minutes. So it might be in person, it might be 15 minutes maximum to talk to this person. Virtually, they might say you have 30 minutes at most, and in Todd's case, they said 25. And that's it. So make sure that you're done, in the 25-minute mark. So, okay, always be respectful of that. They might have other media people they're talking to or other things on their schedule. But during the process of doing the interview, I asked Todd, so how are we doing on time? Because I know we're getting close to the 25-minute mark. And he's like, Mark, I got time for you. So we ended up doubling that time. It was like 52 minutes that I got. But I was mindful to ask him and not just assume that since he knows me and recognizes that it's okay, get in trouble with the publicist, and then things go south on me. But then I ended up with, the longest interview he's done. And I was just really fortunate because I'd interviewed him 2 other times and he remembered that back in 2016 and 2018. So there's another example of kind of doing the right thing and treating people the right way. And it benefits both people at some point. Yeah.
Ours are too small of a world for anybody to be a diva.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not, like you said, take it around, nobody wants to work with that, theaters, directors, anybody else, nah. And nobody's that good. Nobody would ever feel that good to be a diva or to be with people. Like you said, we can all succeed and we can all have fun.
But it's funny because you would think they should know better by now, right? Being in the arts industry, knowing that it's difficult and there's still so many divas, whether it's in any field.
Yeah.
It's not cool to be a dick to someone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I used to say the same thing with again, I did model photography starting in 2005, and we're not Paris or Milan or New York or we're Seattle. And so that doesn't mean that you can't do great work, but it also means that just kind of be somewhat humble about it and just enjoy people's processes and the networking that you do. And again, for the most part, I met some fantastic people that some of them I'm still friends with to this day. But there was a couple exceptions where people come in and we'd sit down and go over the paperwork, and they just thought they were God's gift to modeling. And I'm like, okay, so what have you actually done? Oh, I've done 3 photo shoots, and I did it with so-and-so. So it's like, okay, I know all 3 of those photographers. They're great photographers, but that doesn't really justify you having an attitude and acting like a diva. It's like, and I got to spend like 3 hours with you now. And so needless to say, in the back of my head, I'm still going to be professional, do what I need to do. But I already know I'm not going to see you again because I'm not going to work with you again. I'm going to work with the people that I like, just like the one I worked with this morning. I've known her since 2014. It's been almost 7 years of working with her, but she's great. And I see Industrial Girl saying, well, now I'm getting inspired. Good boy, Mark. Makes up for your spoiler intro for Carlos. Okay, well, yeah, good. I'm glad you're getting inspired because you can't really do anything wrong with that if you're trying to get past writer's block. Just it's not like something has to be published and someone has to see it. It just has to get you past that hump. And then once you do it, then some other things might start pouring out of you, just like as a musician or as a dancer or an actor or anything. So, but if you don't try to get past it, then you never will. It'll just stay there. So at some point, you got to kind of pick yourself back up and say, let's go for it and see what happens. And if you fall on your face, that's okay, because at least you tried. That's just my own mentality. And I fall on my face all the time. So, but I'd rather do that than think, oh, I need to do this. And then I never do it. Then a year passes by. And I go, oh, I need to do this. And no, I don't want to be one of those people at all. So, yeah, well, that's a great question, Carlos, stemming from asking about concerts and getting credentialed and all that kind of thing. And are you still shooting now?
Every now and then. Once I started the course, it's funny because I bought like a nice gimbal. I wanted to get more into the video side of things, and then I got accepted into the EMT program, so I put that off for the time being. But I was gonna ask Amy and Lisa, since you're both in the medical field, are you still doing a lot of the art things on the side? Has it been difficult trying to work in the arts? Just because from my perspective, that's what I'm worried going into this field, and then it being too busy where I can't dance or I can't take pictures. Or how do you balance that,
I've got lots of thoughts for sure. Yeah, it's always, I think, a balance. And, for me, most of my work in the past year has really focused on either nature or photojournalism because the arts opportunities have just been so limited. It's just not safe. But I think before that, it was also a challenge because, even though the hours technically work out, if you work days and then go shoot concerts, you're still taking the bus home or driving home at, midnight, 1 o'clock. If you're up by 5:30, 6 o'clock, it doesn't leave a lot of time for sleep. And,
Right.
Obviously the day job needs to take precedence. And for me, it feels personally important also. So I want to make sure that I'm present and alert and doing the best that I can for my patients and colleagues. But, yeah, it's definitely a balance, trying to bring both, especially if you have a big presentation or really important clinical offering that comes at the same time as a festival or something else that's also important to you. So yeah, I think there is a tension, but because the hours work, I'm still able to do some of each. For you
me,
though, Amy.
Yeah, so hours actually work really well. I work days and I work during the week. Theater rehearsals and plays tend to be in the evening, so I get to go home, see my family, and then go to rehearsal, and then go to plays. During the week, I'm tired, especially like during tech and things like that. I will absolutely go into an exam room, put on like a headphones and listen to a meditation and take a nap. I do that quite a bit during tech and other times. And I think the biggest difference, and people ask me this at work all the time, is, you have these long days, how do you go and everything else? It's because it's what you want to do. If it was something you didn't like, if it was something that was a chore, of course not, you're going to have the energy. But having that to go fun in the evening is really great. It's not as late. I'm not saying up till midnight, 1 a.m. So it's a little bit easier for me for that. It's something you want to do, and that completely makes all the difference. So you can enjoy it. And I think because especially the jobs we do, everybody should have something. But whatever your career is, have something to punching in and out. Otherwise, what are we doing with our lives? You know,
Right.
and especially for us, it's such a diversion, and it's probably the most important thing that you can do for yourself. So you're tired sometimes, you do have to push through it, but it's the magical moments to make it all worthwhile.
Agreed.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Sorry to jump in. I was really curious for Carlos and Amy what this last year has been like, and if you've been able to continue things virtually, or if it's just been scraping to a halt. And I don't know if dance and theater the way that concerts have been for us.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so yeah, 2020, the beginning of 2020 was awesome. My girlfriend and I had callback auditions for The Village, for these musicals. I had something already secured with the Seattle Opera for a performance. And we were getting ready to do our show. We were a week away from performing, and then COVID hit. But yeah, literally, I was good about it for the first month or two, and then I just started losing motivation, and then just not dancing, just as things got worse and worse. But yeah, we've been starting to do a few virtual things, and we're going to start back again this coming week. We're going to be doing a virtual performance, but it's not the same, you know. It's so difficult. Like, you don't have that environment. You're not with your peers. Or there's also that scare of, okay, what if I get sick? And but yeah, I think it's also been a good time to reflect on things. Aside from all the negatives, that's what got me into wanting to go into the EMS field. So
Cool.
yeah.
For me, you know, there were definitely some virtual opportunities that came along the way, but for the first half of everything in COVID, everything was really, really scary, really anxious, really stressful. I did not have it in me. I wanted to, it was not in me. So things are kind of calming down now, goodness. My solace was in what actors and other theater groups and things were offering, the people who were doing the Zoom readings and the Zoom performances. Luckily, theaters like the Globe and the National are streaming past productions they had, and some really gorgeous stuff. So I was able to get my fix when I did not have it in me to perform, and that carried me through. You know, there wasn't Shakespeare in the Park and things this summer, but having to stream just fabulous performances was my outlet. I have it in me to create. And now that things are coming down, I was like, okay, well, all right, when can we back on stage? I'm ready.
Yeah, I was gonna say I have a few friends who are still in acting class, and it's so weird seeing them do everything virtually, like perform scenes and take class. But I guess that might be the new norm now. So.
Wow. There's a long question that came in, so I'll read it for everybody. What does the panel think will happen when performance venues, as far as getting people in even after vaccination, keep lots of seats empty, put up clear plastic barriers between groups of seats, the thought of returning to rubbing elbows with strangers on the shared armrest while watching a play or concert? Ew. Oh, boy.
I mean, I think we have to separate the seats. I don't know if it's going to be in pairs so that they can go with somebody as a date. Plexiglass, yeah, possibility. I don't know about the actors on stage. You know, you are seeing real life things with people wearing masks. That's a good question.
Yeah, I can only think of some of the things I've already seen, like concert-wise, where they're doing the whole 5 people in this little pen, basically, and then there's a gap, and there's like another 5 people in the pen. I know there's some theaters over in Europe that were talking about having one row that had like 5 people, and then there's a gap, and then there's like nobody in the row behind them or in front of them, and all that kind of thing. If that's still financially viable, because that's the other piece of this, is if you have only 50% or 25% of the patrons there, I don't know if that's going to work.
Yeah.
I know one other guest was talking about that they were ready to do a club tour this month in February, and it was still going to be like 25%. And some, I don't know where they were going to do this tour at, because we don't have venues here in Washington that are open, but maybe other parts of the U.S. do. But they were saying, yeah, they were going to have like 4 people in little pods, so it might be like 12 pods in this club. I'm like, that's going to be, how are you going to make sure that people stay there? Who's going to do that? Who's going to police that? That just sounded so odd. And that's when she said, yeah, we ended up having to cancel all of that because it wasn't feasible. So yeah, asking a really good question, Ken. I don't really know what this is going to look like, and it's probably going to constantly change too, depending on what they first start opening up as, and finding out this worked, this didn't work, and just having to pivot and keep changing, as we've all had to do the last a year and a couple of months now. And I don't, Carlos, I don't know if you had any thoughts, or Lisa.
Yeah, I was gonna say too, it's also interesting how like nightclubs are such a thing of the past now. Now when you think about it, having like so many people within your proximity and people sweat, but yeah, I don't know. I think like you were saying, it might be difficult for a company just to make ends meet with venues being at capacity. Or who knows, maybe they'll charge more to make up for it.
Yeah, for sure.
Which will also sorry.
No, I was just agreeing with you. Yeah, I think that's a huge consideration, is the financial viability.
Yeah, I had a guest on who has been a tour bus driver for a lot of bands, and he was talking about, so he had some inside information about potential tours, and he was talking about that a lot of the like say if you're a club level band, you play El Corazon, you play Sunset, you play those kind of places, hold anywhere from 200 to 600 people, Numos, that kind of thing, that a lot of the booking agencies and places like that are now putting this risk on the bands. So the band might actually go out for 2 weeks, play 13, maybe 12 shows in those 14 days, and that's just to get them even before they can actually potentially make money past that. So if they don't do well those first 2 weeks, they're already in the hole. And so then they have to dig themselves out of this hole, which typically they might have like an advance or something to help cover those first 2 weeks. So now the agencies aren't going to take that risk because they don't have the money to do it. So they're going to say, okay, if you think you can, make it past 2 weeks and then do well and make a profit, go for it. But if you think that you're not quite there yet, you may not be touring. And that was scary. And he's been touring with some really well-known bands. So I kind of trust what he's saying, that this is where they're at right now, and all these discussions about, so are we going to be able to tour in the summer, in the fall? Are we going to Europe? Are we doing the US? What's this look like? And it's just this big, weird pot of like, nobody wants to take the risk. Sometimes they can't even afford to take the risk. So who's going to try to get out there and make it? And I think what you're going to see happen is there's going to be a bunch of bands that are itching to get out there and perform for their fans. And they're going to go in a hole real quick. And that might be one of their last tours for a while, because they'll be out on the road for a month and realize we can't sustain this. We have no money coming in. We're losing money every show we play. And therefore, we got to go back home and then try to regroup somehow and get some sort of income going to move forward. So it's not just going to be about getting bands back on the road. They got a whole new dynamic to deal with now, it sounds like. And it's a riskier dynamic than what it was pre-COVID. I don't know if that's going to be the same thing for opera, ballet, theater, all the other things too. But with bands, it's going to be pretty cutthroat. And really, the bigger artists that can take those kind of hits, they'll be able to do what they need to. But we know those are coming back last because of the size. When you have 20,000 people at Climate Pledge Arena or whatever, when the Weekend play there in 2022, what they announced. But if you're a band that's driving around in a 15-passenger van trying to go from show to show, who really need to depend on that money, they may not be able to do it. So they have to really hopefully have some business sense to think, as much as we want to get out there, do we need to wait another year to get our finances together, or just have the scene kind of come back to support us? It's scary. Lots of factors that we have to think about.
I think we all need hamster balls like the Flaming Lips. Not sure how it would work for dance, but maybe you could incorporate it.
I'm sure Carlos could figure out a way to incorporate that into some dance choreography. The hamster ball. Just call it avant-garde or abstract or something, and you'll be good. Yeah, I mean, I guess it'll just be nice when we actually get to the point of having to think about how that's going to look. Right now it's too early, but everyone's thinking about it, hopefully that saying, okay, I can actually go back to the Taproot Theater, and then what would that look like? Well, now you're sitting here, Mark. The media people are here. Okay, well, I don't know that person, so I don't want to be sitting next to them, and vice versa. So can I sit in the back when there's nobody there? But then I can't see as well. Or I don't know, whatever kind of things I just never had to think about. And then, at least in our case, if we're in a photo pit somewhere where you're actually in a pit with a barrier and you got fans breathing on your neck, well, that can't happen. Yeah. And then I can't be next to you as much as I like you. I can't be next to you. We have to be. Yeah, can you imagine that? We're all like, there's 8 photographers in a photo pit. That's not going to happen. And trying to be 6 feet apart and not bump into each other as we're trying to get shots and different band members and all that. I don't know how that's going to work. So maybe it's going to be like, 2 photographers get approved, maybe, or they just have a band photographer, and people like me are out to lunch then at that point, because I'm not, a part of that system. I'm freelance. So I don't know. It's just going to be, it'll be interesting to see.
I wonder about the vaccines, and they've talked about having some sort of a passport or other documentation, and wonder if that'll make it a little more feasible.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly, I would think that some of the maybe even like I can kind of see maybe the bigger venues starting to implement something like that, or if they're owned by Live Nation, let's say, the biggest freaking production company in the world for concerts, saying that they require certain things if you're trying to maybe even buy a ticket, or I don't know, some way to kind of show what you've done or have done, in order to be able to just kind of get to that point right from the beginning before you even ever get to the venue. But again, I think the companies that have the means will start implementing those things, and the smaller level guys that just don't have the means, they're the ones who are going to be kind of stuck. Like, well, I'd love to implement being able to check whether you've had a vaccine or not, but I don't have the extra $500,000 to make that happen. So then it maybe comes down to, when you're checking at the door, do you have something you can show me? And I don't know. Does that mean there's going to be like a black market for those cards and this stuff? All kinds of weird things can kind of squish out from these things that we're working through right now. Gosh,
Definitely an issue of equity.
Well, that's the thing, especially when you've got bands and dance troupes and theaters and stuff. You're working so close together. Illness can go through those things like wildfire. And in a couple of days where stomach bugs have gone through, and it can be pretty nasty pretty quick. Respiratory, knock on wood, hasn't really had it, but that's going to be a new thing. At what point do we person with our masks on? I don't know.
Yeah. You think about every band talks about, as soon as one band member gets sick, they know the rest of the band and the crew are going to get sick. They travel together. It's just going to happen. And you think of shows, it could be a show down in Vegas or something, and it's just like, if that person's sick, then okay, everyone else, you're probably going to end up with it too. Or if you're in your household, mom gets sick, then maybe the dad and kids and whoever else might get it. Just starts running its course. Gosh, it'd be so nice to not have to think about these things, but unfortunately we're in where we're in. So something will kind of shake out of this. It'd be interesting to see, like 5 years from now, what does everything look like once we've gone through the transitional period and this worked, this didn't work, and now we kind of figured out we got, if it's herd immunity and everything else going for us, that we can now do these things in these venues. And does it look like it did in, say, 2019? I can't imagine it looking exactly the same. It's got to be something different about it, even if it is showing a vaccination card or whatever it is. What's Ken saying here? It's all about seeing the ICU beds stop filling up. If we can get to where the serious illness from this thing is at or below flu levels, then I won't be as uptight about being around strangers. Yeah. I'll probably still wear a mask 5 years from now. Okay, and sure will.
But same here. I was like gonna say, I still wouldn't trust people if they say they feel well. There's a lot of people who lie about symptoms. They'll still go out, so it's so difficult to be certain about somebody. Or I feel like without proper documentation saying you've been vaccinated, temperature check, I wouldn't feel comfortable.
Yep.
Definitely.
Yeah, that Carlos, that could be like, yeah, your new dance partner for a piece that you're working on, and you don't know anything about them, and that means you're putting a lot of trust into this person, and that they're being truthful and upfront and transparent, and maybe they're not, maybe they just really wanted the job or the role, so they'll say whatever they need to make this happen, and then putting you and everyone else at risk. So it's a lot to think about.
Oh, to Mark and Lisa, have either one of you been documenting the pandemic at all? I feel like it's going to be interesting looking back at it for those who have taken pictures or like,
Yes, I certainly have, at least to the extent that that's felt safe, and always trying to balance that with obligations to my patients and folks at work and at home too. But yes, the empty streets and people wearing masks, vaccination clinics, those sorts of things. I think this is going to be really personally meaningful to look back on in a few years down the road. But I hope it'll be a way to help kind of preserve what it was like to be experiencing this time. And I know how important those images are from 1918, and seeing what it was like for those people, and now here we are again. It's actually not that different. People wearing masks, being shoot off public transit if they won't wear them. People are still people. So
I haven't been doing what Lisa's been doing, and I know she's been, as she just said, documenting on certain levels. She also documented, I know, like the Black Lives Matter movement and other things that have been going on in society, which has been amazing to look at. Her image work that she's been doing. For me, it would actually be this, because if I go back to May 22nd, when I was first on tour with Alice, almost every guest interview, the first thing we were talking about, how are you doing? How are you holding up during this time? And it's really become this diary that I can go back and look at it. And I've mentioned this before, that those early interviews are like cringeworthy for me, just in terms of how I was as an interviewer and how I was presenting myself to people. But in terms of the content, it's fascinating to go back and see, back in, even from just May to say October, the changes that were going on. Things were good, things were bad, what's coming up for the holidays. And the interviews I've been doing with the Soap Girls, which is a band in South Africa, we've been doing them every month since October. And they were telling me, Mark, this is like a diary for us about what's been going on for them in their world, and also just in general with everybody. And so I'm hoping that, again, if it's 5 years down the road, I can go back and look at those videos on YouTube or Facebook and go, man, and hopefully immediately transport me back to remember what was going on then and what was going on in my life and my headspace. And also writing about it. So I've journaled stuff that actually has been published out there so people can read some of the stuff with some of the bands about, what's been going on, my impressions of it, just one person's opinion, and being able to, again, look back on that kind of thing. Because I'm one of those kind of people. I love looking back on stuff just to kind of see, what was going on 5 years ago? Where was I in my headspace or in my life? What was going on in society? And obviously, from last year to right now and into next year, it's going to be such a pivotal time to look at those things and just kind of remember like how far we've come, that we did get past this at some point. But also this, how much heavy weight was going on for everybody, particularly like around the end of May into June. And holy moly, we already were dealing with this whole pandemic. And then you had all these other things, put onto that plate, and all these other things came onto it. And like, wow, when is this going to stop? And it never really did. It just shifted. It shifted into other things depending on what you believe in and what you don't. But it was there, and you couldn't get away from it at all. You could turn off all your social media and don't watch TV and all that. As soon as you walk out the door, if you walk out the door, bang, something's going to remind you about, oh yeah, this is going on right now. And now it's going to affect me, just the fact that I even have to think about it. So I have not taken my camera to photograph anything regarding the pandemic, but yeah, this visual evidence would come from the virtual stuff that I've been able to do and been so fortunate to be a part of. Yep. Oh boy. Amy, I don't know.
I'll be back.
Okay.
Recover.
Okay. I don't know if you mind me asking this, but how's it been for you being a mom during this time? I'm curious about that.
Yeah, absolutely. That, especially early on, trying to answer questions, saying, baby, this has never happened before. This is completely unprecedented in our lives. This is brand new. We've never had to face this, and especially being a frontline worker. There were definitely some fears, but I just got a really kind of calm, level head. We talked to her, at or above her age level, basically like an adult. I think when you talk to children, they can really take in way more than we give them credit for. So if you level them in simple things and they don't see you overreacting or freaking out yourself, then they know that they're calm. That this is uncharted times. This is new. This is what we have to do to keep safe. What's difficult is not being able to see friends and family, in a total upheaval in school. But children mimic what they see. What they say becomes their subconscious. So I think if we are nervous about internalizing that, but being able to say that I am afraid this is what I'm going to do, and kind of like, Mr. Rogers' famous quote, look for the helpers, look for the positive, look what people are doing out there, whether they're banging on pots and pans or first responders or, giving extra supplies because there was a lot of panic buying at first, looking for those positives and things is one of the things that we really try to show that helps. Okay. And having a very resilient, fabulous child is really great as well. But I think they're fabulous little humans that as long as we're real and we don't overreact, that they can keep things pretty level-headed. And then listening to what they have to say. They have such fabulous little views and takes on the world that it's really worth listening and paying attention to. They're pretty fabulous. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. Mm-hmm. I haven't been around young people for a couple of years now, so I just know when I was, and obviously when everything went virtual, and I'm not a parent myself, but just I can only imagine what it was like for parents like yourself that when this whole thing happened, not only just from a scheduling change, but just the fact that your child could be looking at this 5 days a week with their teachers. Now
we're pretty my husband was able to, with his job, they switched everybody to remotely right away. So he's been able to be really great learning coach. He took our daughter out of the public schools into this really great online homeschool system for the year. So luckily that has really, really helped. She's fabulous and he's fabulous. And they do a lot of hands-on things. Screens were a big change. We don't do a lot of screens in our house. But if it's for learning purposes, it is what it is kind of these days, and trying to turn them off as much as possible, which goes for grown-ups too. Netflix is an easy thing, but what books are we reading? What games are we playing? Everyone, puzzles were sold out for months. You couldn't get a puzzle for anything. So kind of showing kind of the same thing, like they mimic what they see. So yeah.
Okay, interesting. And I'm just saying, well, I'm writing an article now while listening to this. Laugh out loud. Thanks, Mark. Okay, well, you're welcome. If you get to the point where you actually want, to let people read that, or if you just want me to read it personally, you know how to get a hold of me direct message wise, I'd love to take a peek at it. But if it's something for you just personally, that's great too. I'm glad I kind of inspired you to, give it another shot, because no time like the present. Miles will roll with it. Again, you don't have to be writing the piece that's going to win the Pulitzer Prize or anything. You just be doing something just for yourself. So that's awesome. And one of the things I bring that up, Amy, about being a mom is that the coworker that I have is a grandparent, and so she's been doing the schooling with her grandson because her daughter's at work. And so I get to hear an earful from her. Some of it's good, some of it not so good. And then when she found out my background of what I used to do as a teacher, as an educational advocate, so she said, well, Mark, my grandson's doing this. And I'm kind of like, well, I'm happy to talk to you about this, but let's get our work done first. Then I can talk to you about it once we're done. And she'll kind of tell me some things that were going on. And I was like, well, here's some questions that I would ask. And always want to be thinking in terms of the team, of the teachers involved and the people involved with your child's education, your grandson's education. You don't want to come across as confrontational in any way, because we're all trying to hopefully get towards the same goal, which is helping him from different ends. And so she understood that, and then she started talking to her daughter about some of the things I'd said, and now that she's got more questions about what she should do with processes. And I keep thinking, well, maybe I should start charging for this advice or something at this point, because it's things that have come through, just my own personal experiences of having to deal with lawyers and school districts and everything else when programs are not going the way they're supposed to be going legally for a child. Then all the gloves are off at that point for me, because I would get really upset about it. And that's what's going on in this particular person's case. So it's like, okay, tell me more, because here's what I would do. And again, you're not trying to be confrontational. You're just trying to get an answer to, a solution to the problem. And she seems to be, understanding that kind of thing. But she just had no idea that all these things were available to her. Her daughter didn't know about that. I said, well, that's kind of par for the course. A lot of times they just don't have time to explain it, or I don't think it's ever on purpose. It's just, they just don't have time. They're trying. This is all new, virtual stuff and virtual learning. But that doesn't change the fact that your child, in your case, your grandson, is entitled to this, this, and this because of legal things that I can tell you about. Here's the whack code for that. And she's like, you could tell she's getting overwhelmed. I was like, I'm not trying to overwhelm you, but you're the one that asked. So here's what I would do. And if you want more explanation, just let me know and I'll try to help you. And so, this is happening while I'm, mopping a floor and wiping down a sink and that kind of stuff. So it's interesting how that far back into my background is now here present in front of me, 2021. But I'm happy to help her, because I want to see the right thing happen. So. Yeah, and Carlos, I see you're back. Are you drinking the same beer, or you got something different this time?
No, this time it's a cider, but it's a peach cider from Incline Brewing.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think it's a peach kind of night. It's interesting though. It reminds me of some Mexican candy, but I'm trying to pinpoint which kind of candy.
Cool.
Pretty good.
Okay. There's one of the.
I'll be right back, Mark.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the guests that I interviewed has a real thing about the fuzz on side of an actual peach. It like freaks her out. I've never actually encountered somebody like that. So I said, so if I take a peach and like rub it on your skin, she goes, "Oh, Mark, you will never do that, because I'll knock that out of your hand," and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, wow. I said, where does that stem from? She said, I don't know, but ever since I was a child, I don't like peach fuzz. I don't like the feel of like velour or things like that. I'm like, really? People usually kind of like that. I like the feeling of like peach fuzz and stuff, but yeah, to her, it's like, the devil or something. So that's why I think when you're mentioning peach flavored, cider and beer, that I think apricot beer, was that what you had? No.
Oh yeah,
apricot. Okay. And Industrial, it's up for anybody to read. Okay, did you post it on Instagram, or where did you post this, so that people know if they want to read what you just came up with? I'm just curious. So, wow. Well, what was I looking at? Oh, this is something that I thought was interesting from this list of questions. That I'd asked I don't remember what fun table that was. We've done 21 of these, but it was, how well do you know your neighbors?
In this new apartment complex, don't know my neighbors at all. In the previous one, I think we met our neighbors once, and that was after somebody broke into the apartment complex and kicked their door down. But other than that, no interaction. It's weird too, though. Even in San Francisco, when I lived with my family, like, didn't really know the neighbors. Maybe it's a city thing where everyone keeps to themselves, but that's been my experience.
All right.
Yeah. We have some neighbors that we know pretty well and hang out with in normal times and get together with. We have some great folks across the fence. We did a socially distanced chicken newborn shoot over the summer. That was a whole lot of fun, just as one example. But we haven't really gotten to know the folks on the other side because they moved in after COVID, so we'll see each other's families over the fence, but it hasn't been safe to do anything together. So yeah, kind of a range, but we're in sort of an interesting area where it's commercial bumping up against residential, and then there's a religious part of the block as well. So we've got that kind of in the middle.
Okay. I live in a fourplex, so I'm on the top floor of this fourplex, and the family that's below me, I probably know them the best. But what's really strange, once COVID, well, I guess it's not strange. Once COVID happened, I rarely see them. Even if I look out my window, I don't see them like going to their car or going to the mailbox or the garbage. I hear them, but every now and then I'll come across them because like the mom tries to go for like little jogs down our street and stuff and to get some exercise. But it's been pretty rare. Like those sightings have been cut down a lot. And then the gentleman that's next to me, he's a single guy. He's super quiet. I rarely even know if he's there. I just look out if I see his car, if I don't. And then there's two younger brothers that live below him. And those guys are super quiet too. But they have their Halloween stuff that they had out, and it's still out. And it's like a skull and like these other weird little things outside their door. And I'm kind of like, so are you like Satanist or something? Are you just lazy? Or it is February now, but I like dark things, so I guess it's okay. But I actually thought that those things were not going to last long, that somebody would have stole them, because we have some issues with transients in our area and people that are on drugs and that kind of issue. So I thought, as soon as I saw those in October, I said, man, I bet you those things are not going to last. But they have. They're still there. No one's touched them. But it is kind of odd to me that they're still out there as we're moving into Valentine's Day next weekend. But luckily, they're all nice, quiet, keep to themselves. But at the same time, like they always say, that if you're going to have an emergency, it's usually X amount of feet from your home. So if you don't know your neighbors, that can actually become a real issue. So I always try to think about that. But yeah, then with COVID, it's like, well, I can maybe say something to you from afar as you're going to the mailbox or going to your car. But I think just erring on the side of caution, I just try not to do it at all. And thank whoever I live in the house. And the link is on all my socials, Industrial Girls saying, okay, that's cool. Well, yeah, don't say it's lame. It's something that you put out there on your WordPress. So I'll definitely look at the link and see what came out. And that'll be, yeah, it's always something. Again, I can use that painting stuff as an example. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I just did it, and it's open to interpretation. If someone likes it, great. If they don't like it. But it brought me some level of joy, so that's why I did it. And Carlos, do you guys still have your drink cart, your little mini bars?
Oh yeah.
Is that what?
Nice.
Okay. Now, is that getting like replenished because you keep going through it? Or
Yeah, it's funny though. So I couldn't go down to California, but Rowan went down to drop her sister off, and she stopped by at my parents' house to drop some things off. And I knew it. I told her, if my dad gives you a bottle, do not take it. Each time I go back to San Francisco, I come back with 2 or 3 new bottles of some kind of whiskey or tequila. She's like, I told him no. He was insistent. She brought back like another bottle of tequila. So I keep telling my dad, I'm like, Dad, I don't have space for these bottles anymore. It just keeps on building and building.
Oh, that's pretty cool that your dad's doing that, though. At least offering it, and know that you guys like to partake. So
he likes to try different whiskeys, and he'll tell me about the ones he just bought. He's like, oh, you should check this one out. I think the last one he bought was the Woodinville one, and he was talking about how he liked it.
Okay.
I have yet to try that one, but I've heard good things about it.
Yeah, I haven't tried it myself, but I know exactly where they're located. I've driven by there a couple of times when I was covering shows out at the winery at San Michelle. And it's not far from there at all in terms of where the shuttle bus comes from to get to the shows at the winery when we had shows. Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I always think about that. You guys had in your old place and your new place, you have that bar of stuff at your disposal. Oh man. I'm just seeing what else is going on back there, but no, just being nosy.
We've got that big mirror we bought, so we would have something to look at while we danced. But since we moved to this apartment, it's a little bit smaller than the previous one, so we really don't have much of a an area to dance in. But it's nice. It's nice to have a full-sized mirror.
Okay, yeah, I was looking at that. I'm like, okay, it must be just be a mirror. I didn't even think about the dance aspect of it.
I thought it was a door myself.
Oh.
Although, yeah, when you look at it through the screen, it does look like a door.
Uh-huh.
That's true.
Maybe a little off center, but door-like in a way.
Wow. And Carlos, you were saying earlier too that, and I know from talking to you that at some point it was like hard to be motivated to do dance and get back into your routines and stuff. But then you also said you're doing something virtual next week.
Yeah, we start back. So we started, like I told you before, we did one rehearsal in December, and then we're getting back to work on that this coming week for about a month. And we're also working with another choreographer. So we're doing 2 different pieces. I think we'll be filming at the end of February, but not sure when it's going to be distributed out to the public.
Okay.
But also speaking to Oleg and Mara, they did mention the possibility of a virtual gala too, sometime in May.
Oh,
okay.
Yumi's back.
I'm back. Sorry, technical difficulties.
Oh yeah, no problem. Yeah, everything looks and sounds really good now from my end. Yeah, because initially I was having trouble hearing you. It would like break up at times, but I thought it was on my end because I got a bunch of crappy Wi-Fi here.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was my computer too, just because like my internet has notoriously been bad for the past few interviews.
I switched.
So I just recently.
Yeah, switch phones and headphones. So we'll see. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's much better.
Oh, is it? Okay. All right. These might be better then. Okay, good.
Yeah. No, don't touch a thing.
I assumed it was my internet because ours is also pretty crummy. So amongst the 4 of us, it sounds like we bought the cheap plan, huh?
So for the prior interviews, I was living in my previous apartment and the internet was provided to the complex. So since everyone shared internet, it was pretty bad. So for the first interview of 2021 I did with Mark, I just told him I got Xfinity hoping for it to be better and things would still crash. So I got a new modem and it's been pretty good lately for the past 2 hours, almost hour and a half.
Yeah.
Great.
I have an electromagnetic force that messes with like electrical equipment and cords like my whole life. It's kind of weird. I don't know what it is, but yep.
Okay. Yeah. No, it's awesome that
good.
I can hear you perfectly. Because sometimes what would happen is I hear like a little cracking up of what you were saying, and then it would get clear. And again, prior to March of last year, I never had Wi-Fi in this apartment. That's how basic that setup is that I have. And I do speed tests and all that kind of stuff to kind of see what's going on between that and my LTE or whatever. And but sometimes it's also this platform has kind of been a bugaboo for me. So I never know like where do I point my finger at, but everything seems to really be doing really well right now. And Carlos, you were mentioning with the virtual stuff that you're doing with the dance parts, and I'm trying to figure out when that's going to get shown to everybody to hopefully purchase to see the performances and all that. Are you having a hand in any of the videography part of it by chance? Or
so as far as I know, nothing yet. But yeah, I might be helping out with that. We also did just recently get a new social media person. Just because, before they got this person, it was just me or Alberto putting things out. So maybe with the social media person, they'll probably be doing a lot of the stuff, but I'm always open for the experience. And
okay. Yeah, because didn't you do the editing for the promo video for OBT?
Yeah. This last one, yeah.
Cool. Well, social media person. That'll be interesting. And I know there's those roles for lots of companies. That's solely what they do to make sure their presence is out there online for all the socials and stuff.
Yeah, I mean they know what they're doing. I mean, I was posting things, hashtagging everything, hoping to get viewers. So they probably have a more sophisticated method on their end. So
I know for myself, having to like look at YouTube videos and all this kind of stuff, I'm trying to learn from like when do you post, what day of the week, what time, what hashtags do you use? And there's so much conflicting information that I'm kind of like, well, let me try these things. Oh, that seems to be a shadow ban. Oh, the shadow ban doesn't exist on Instagram. Other people say it absolutely exists. And so I try and test things out. And yeah, sometimes the reach is great and sometimes it's terrible. And I never really know what to chalk it up to. So yeah, someone who does that for a living, hopefully they have a lot of insight into how to get the brand out there the way it's supposed to be.
Sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited to use my new gimbal. So especially with my Canon, because I was doing everything mostly with just my cell phone and electric gimbal. So now I have, I forgot what it's called, but yeah, it's a more professional gimbal for my DSLR.
Nice. Yeah, and at some point then I know I talked to you and Rowan about doing the photo shoot that we had talked about a while ago.
Oh, it's fine.
Well, we'll get that together at some point too. So that'll be good. Hopefully it doesn't get, well, I mean, like this coming week it's supposed to get really, really cold around here is what I heard. Potential chance of snow or something by the end of the week and all this. And so
Kind of wild.
I know, I've been getting excited. They're like, oh, it's going to snow this week. And then it doesn't snow. Little snow is nice.
Little snow is nice.
Yeah, it's always pretty to look at. If you got to keep driving in it like day after day, depending on what kind of vehicle you have, then it makes a huge difference. And I've got a terrible vehicle for it, so yeah, I may not be making it to my job if we get enough snow around here, but that's okay.
If you're stuck at home with a book, it's perfect.
Yes, yes.
It's moody. For me, when it snows, I'm at the bottom of a hill and my work is at the top of a hill. So
oh no.
No 4-wheel drive. It's easier just to put on shoes with gaiters and waterproof pants and just trudge up the hill. It's not going to work any other way.
Yeah, I made a mistake once of driving in the snow with my Mustang. I went to the Y right on Aurora and 180th and the parking lot's on a slight incline and the road had frozen a little and I just kept on like rolling and then just rolling back for about like 20 minutes. I'm like, I'm never going to leave this place.
Seattle's rough. I'm sure San Francisco is too, in the snow if it ever shows up there. But yeah, it's just buses careening down the hill.
Yeah,
San Francisco right now is pretty nice. It's 64 degrees, so it's not. Yeah, and sunny.
A little unusual, even. Very nice.
Yeah, I know when I moved out here to Edmonds, I've got like a 2-layer hill to get up to get to my place. And so I tried it. I tried gunning it up when we got snow in 90s. Yeah, it was a long time ago when I first moved out here. And I didn't make it past the second incline and started sliding back. And there's no sidewalks. So I'm like trying to make sure I didn't go in the ditch. And I managed to go all the way back down the hill. I just parked it there and I walked up the hill. And then I realized that, where are my neighbors' cars? Because nobody else was parked in our lot. And I realized that where the Burlington is right off of Aurora, they were parking in their lot and then walking over. So, that's the trick. Because on 205th, it's pretty well traveled. It's a main drag. You can get over to 99 and then walk over. So I've been doing that ever since. If there's even the chance of some snow coming, I just leave my car over there. And nobody wants my car because it's old, so it's fine. But trying to come up and down my hill, that's not happening at all. So I'm happy it doesn't snow here in LA. Okay, well, yeah.
That's the thing. Going up the hills, you'll just go backwards and it gets really dangerous. Or going through intersections, you can't stop. I remember times when you're driving through an intersection and you want to let somebody cross at a crosswalk, but you've got to like roll down your window and you're going to screech at them and you sound like a pterodactyl, but you're like, stop, I'm sorry.
Yeah, if it's pouring, I'll avoid any hills in Seattle.
Yep.
Yeah, since I drive stick, I'm just like I'm gonna roll regardless. Like, and that's gonna be the worst thing.
Totally.
Yeah, no, I especially if you're anywhere downtown,
Yeah.
trying to get up a rain-slicked hill, especially if it's been dry for a while, and then it rains, it's all the oil mixes. Oh man, yeah. And I don't even drive a stick, and I don't even like doing that. So I can only imagine what it's like for you. Good grief. But yeah, because it was 2 years ago when we got all that snow in February.
Yes.
That's right, because it started on the Super Bowl on that Sunday, and then we were kind of socked in for a couple weeks. Where
It was like 10 days, 2 weeks. It was a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, very uncharacteristic for our area.
Yeah, it was interesting though because then we were living on 88th and Aurora, and like there's a little street we couldn't get out because it was snowed in. Like the plow couldn't go in because it was so narrow. But when you would go to Seattle, it's like as if it never snowed at all. Like streets were clean. But if you went up north, even to Edmond, snow all over the place. I think we had to tell Oleg, our director, that there was no way that we can make it up there for rehearsals. So he actually came down and gave us a ride because.
Let me ask you this. It kind of begs the question. Were you hoping that you wouldn't have to go, or were you happy that he decided to come
We're like, oh, like we can't make it out. There's no way. He's like, oh, don't worry about it. I'll come by and pick you up.
You're like, oh.
We weren't the only ones, so we didn't feel so bad.
Okay.
There was another dancer too, so.
Yeah, I just know for myself sometimes when things legitimately happen, I can't get there, then you're kind of secretly a little bit happy, like, okay, I'm not going to be there that day. And then, oh no, Mark, no problem. I'll come swing by. Like,
That tends to happen if you're doing
home.
like fall and winter shows. You know, we tend to get like 1 or 2 really good windstorms, so theaters will lose power. So at least like one rehearsal tends to be canceled during a fall show, which is
yeah.
Did all of you lose power recently during the windstorms?
No.
Must be a South End thing again. Where our grid, I think, is just outdated, and if a tree goes down, everything is out forever. So
How long was your power out for?
15 hours, I think. We had to
That's
top the
decent.
whole fridge. Yeah, it was really too bad.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
I got lucky because I assumed, because my lights were flickering before I went to bed, and I thought as soon as I wake up, I'm going to have lights flashing or no lights whatsoever on my clocks and stuff, and I never lost it. So I was really thankful. I think my brother lost it, but my parents, he's in Bothell. My parents are in Kirkland. They didn't lose it. But strangely enough, I came home from working the night job that I do, and I noticed I was putting something in the microwave, and my clock was all undone. So then I look at the one where I don't have to deal with electricity, and saw that we lost power for like an hour. And I'm like, where did this happen from? And then I saw it on the news later that something fell over some lines in this whole kind of area of South Edmond. So like this whole chunk was like out of power for a while, which was fine because I was at work. But at the same time, it could have been worse if it was 15 hours or a couple of days or any of that kind of business.
Or if you had an interview too, like.
Yeah.
I was a little worried about today.
Yeah.
It was windy. Yeah.
It's definitely windy out there. And there was one of these virtual interviews that I was supposed to do, and I could hear the wind howling through, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to be, having my devices up. Typically that's why I would shut stuff off. And there's, power strips and all that kind of stuff, but I still don't trust them because my TV a long time ago got fried, even with like a really brand new surge protector and all that kind of thing. So it didn't do its job and it fried my TV. So ever since then, I'm like gun shy. But if things start sounding kind of ominous, I try to turn off my electronics and my valuables and that kind of stuff. But I think we still managed to get through that interview. And then as soon as it was done, it was like, I turned everything off. I didn't want to worry about it. I went 3 days without power once during that's right. During the hottest weekends in LA, the power company insisted it was a usual outage, but a transformer busted and they didn't get to it till the 3rd day. Oh man. I remember that.
That's horrible.
Yeah. Weren't you staying in your car because of the AC was available in your car versus your home? I think you had posted something about that. That was like 3 nights or 3 days of you like, sleeping in your car because that's the only way you could get AC because it was so freaking hot down there and you had no power. Yikes. Yeah, hopefully that doesn't happen again for you or, for anybody else. Man. So I don't know if oh, yeah, she's saying yes. So, okay, that's what I remembered. Wow. I'm amazed. I remember the strangest things. I'll remember something like that and something I might need for my job tomorrow morning. I'll probably completely forget it. Like, don't forget to bring those tools that you were going to use to fix the vacuum cleaner. I'll get there. Like, what did I do with the tools? Oh, yeah, they're back at home.
It's that artist brain. Our brains are in other places.
It's like Amazon too, like ordering things on Amazon. You don't remember until like you've already placed the order and it'll be a week later and you're like, oh man, I forgot to order this. Or this is what I needed for reals.
And then it just shows up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then the ads are everywhere.
And, yes.
That's creepy.
It's like you think it and then you start seeing like the ads in your feed or in your email. It's like, did I say that out loud? Maybe.
Yeah, it's funny. During West Side Story, I don't know why, but somebody was talking about pole dancing. And then later that night, I look at my phone on Facebook, pole dancing things, and I'm like, this is so creepy.
Yeah, it's real. I'm not normally one of the like conspiracy theory peoples, and I've got nothing to hide, but it's just like, oh, it's out there. Somebody's watching. I mean, okay, yes, I did need a muffin tin, but I didn't need 20 of them, but okay.
Yeah. I was trying to think of what was the first time I saw something like that happen where I was looking at something and didn't realize it was like somehow tied into them basically falling when you went to Amazon for looking at anything. And then, all of a sudden on Facebook and Instagram, there's these ads for stuff that I was looking at. And I was like, oh, that's really bizarre. And then, like Amy was just saying, sometimes it's almost like through some weird sort of osmosis. Like I didn't even actually look at it and it shows up. Like, how do you know I was thinking about I need some new socks or whatever, and then the ads start showing up. Like, yeah, that's a little too big brother for me. But and isn't he stepping down or taking on a new role in Amazon, Bezos? Is that what I heard or read something?
Yeah.
Over the holidays, I really tried. My goal was to get 90% of my gifts, from either small retailers, independent businesses, Etsy, small booksellers and stuff, to really try, which is good any year, but especially in COVID. And I think people have really stepped up. Obviously businesses are still having problems, but I know a lot of the local bookstores, because people are finally putting the convenience aside, because we would love to have, whatever it is we're ordering the next day. But if we can wait a day or two or a couple more, the difference that it can make in some lives. And I think people really, really are, stepping up. We've seen some crazy things this last year, but we've seen some really incredible stuff. You've got, you see like the little free libraries in the area, the little public ones. Somewhere in Seattle, I saw on Instagram, there's a little free art gallery. I'd have to pull it up. It's so cool. You've got to look it up. Somebody's made like a tiny little art gallery, and local artists are putting, sculptures or tiny little canvases that you can actually like take. They say, please don't take everything, but it's really cool. People are really getting creative and kind of having fun with other ways to support local business and arts and things like that.
Yeah, I was going to say, when I first moved up here, I thought that was really great, seeing all these little libraries, the free libraries. Yeah. I think it's, but also, I think more than ever, it's been the best time to help the small businesses right now. They're the ones suffering the most out of everything.
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah, it's so strange that you can be a big box store, so have people coming in and out of your store, hundreds at a time any given day, and then the small businesses either couldn't be open or things are already stacked against them, and they're stacked even more against them. And so, and again, like I was talking to some people earlier today at one of my not my favorite breweries, but one of the breweries I first had beer from 16 years ago. They just closed their doors today officially because of COVID. And they're like in Montlake Terrace, Linwood kind of area. And all of those guys that I know are all locally owned. That's if you want to meet the head brewer, they're right there on the premises, and everyone I've ever met's always been good. So seeing that kind of stuff's been really heartbreaking to see some of these businesses that have been around so long, but then when this happened,
Yeah.
they could only sustain it for so long, applied for every grant, every kind of program, and it sustained them for a little bit longer, but they're already going in the hole. And then now it's just became, we got to make a decision about what's going to happen. And one of the other breweries that I used to play music at, they closed earlier. That was actually end of last year. They closed their doors because of COVID. And I'm thinking, man, we played music there, and I remember having a good time, and good people. And and that's just from that small corner of the world. I know it's much more widespread. I don't know. Let's see. Oh, he stepped down. Okay. But, we do what we can, support the people that you can. You make deliberate choices about where your money goes. And even one thing that I love, what I thought was a positive for music people is like what Bandcamp was doing. They just did it again yesterday where they waived their fees. And so all the money is going to the artists on usually the first Friday of the month, I want to say is what they were doing last year. And they did it again yesterday. And it's like, I was already a fan of them versus some of the other streaming platforms for music, but that made me more of a fan of them, that they're trying to do something, because I don't see the other platforms doing that. I only saw them doing it. So it's like, okay. And so, there are people pivoting, trying to figure out creative ways to turn this lemon into lemonade for sure. And so as long as we can find more of those, then I try to support them as much as I can, which right now isn't a lot, but I still try to support them.
That's the tough part, is so many people are in the same boat. They need support now more than ever, but everybody's strapped, and there's so many places that you can give and support. It's tough, and so much of the arts is skating on a thin fine line anyway, on a good year, whether they can sell out and make budgets and reopen next year. So it's been tough.
Totally.
Yeah, I saw the press release from the Seattle Opera that they had too. I think it was 24 folks that were furloughed that are now permanently gone from the company, so they couldn't afford to hang on to them. I don't think it was 24 new people that they had to let go, but you take an entity that large in the arts community and they're hurting, and you start thinking about, well, can't they just get their same funders and sponsors to help them? Those funders and sponsors who work with them in the Pacific Northwest Ballet and Benaroya Hall and all these other places, they're hurting too. So they don't have the means to be able to do what they normally could do. They don't have those pockets that they had. So it's just rippled everywhere, which is really unfortunate. And I'm keep thinking, some of these places, they should be fine, right? Like, not necessarily, not a guarantee at all. And that's when it started to really hit me that if the big guys can't make it through this or are really struggling, boy, the little guys, holy moly. I think, Amy, I'm thinking about the Phoenix Theater when we got that snow 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Canceled performances there. So they did that GoFundMe, and I think they raised $5,000 from the community just because they missed out on all that money because there was no performances because of the snow. And, that means the world to them, and to, Walmart, that's nothing.
No, exactly. Yeah. It's nothing. And that's the thing, theater actors, we don't get paid much. We get paid something. That's amazing. It's great. But it's the overhead, it's the rent, it's the lighting, it's paying the directors and stuff like that. We can easily give up, whatever we make if we make something, but it's every ticket counts. It really does. And there's so many fabulous little theaters and venues and locations, the ones that have so much charm that it'd be really sad to see them go under.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And again, for me, it's like I saw that, I think it was Connor Byrne opened up in Ballard.
Yep.
It's like, and they've been closed for 3 or 4 months or something like that nature. So I'm like, just the fact of seeing someplace that I know managed to open their doors again, and I'm just hoping it stays that way and they can keep building from it. Or if it's any of the theaters that I've been going to cover shows at, and I know for myself personally, especially from the opera, ballet, theater side of things, I thought I was starting to make some headway into that realm because I don't have that background. And then, last year happened, and I feel like I'm back at square one. I don't really know what I'm looking at, which isn't necessarily true, but I know once I'm back in that realm, some stuff will start coming back to me. But I really, especially with the opera, I didn't know what the heck I was doing, what I'm supposed to be looking at. And then the more I went to say, okay, now I feel like I'm starting to understand stuff. And then now I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what, and they don't really have anything other than some streaming things of old performances from like many years ago. And I mean, I can't wait to get back into it, but I do feel like I've regressed in a really odd way that, okay, I start, because if I like music and concerts, that's my background. I'm a musician. I've been going to concerts since I was 9. That will never change. But all this new stuff that I was trying to, make inroads in, it's like I got to start all over again in some aspects, not all of them, but some of them. And East LA is a great community, so all our mom and pop places have been able to keep their doors open. Okay, that's nice to hear. Wow.
Mark, what was your first concert at 9 years old?
Oh, I saw Kiss in 1979 at the old Seattle Coliseum, which became Key Arena, which was becoming Climate Pledge Arena. And I had a neighborhood friend who was older than me named Bob. And I was just over at his house one day, and he was playing Kiss Alive 2. And I was looking at the gatefold album cover where they have all the pyro and all the craziness going off. And as like an 8-year-old kid, I was like, what is this? And then I'm hearing this music that's all this rock and roll kind of crazy stuff, and the crowd noise on mixed into the live recording. And I just became a Kiss fan. And then my mom, who's probably still watching this right now, knew that they were coming to town. I think they came to town in like November of 79. So I was in 4th grade, and she said, hey, we're going to go see Kiss. So I'm a little kid, like, oh, yay, I get to go see Kiss, whatever. And my mom brought in a camera, like an Instamatic or something, and she took a couple pictures, and I actually still have those pictures. There's one of Gene Simmons doing the fire thing, and then there's a picture of like the drum riser going up, and one other picture, and they're like way off on the side of where we were sitting. But those days were totally different because my mom brought in like Cracker Jack and some other stuff into the concert. It was like going on a picnic or whatever. And I still remember that she had like a yellow shoulder bag that had all this like Cracker Jack and some other kind of goodies in there. And they just looked in there and just waved her right in, no problem. And we bought a T-shirt and a program and a poster, and that was kind of the beginning and end of all of it in terms of me being onto that road of getting into that type of music. And so again, that was 4th grade. And then in 6th grade, I saw AC/DC in 1982 for those about the rock tour. They actually played 3 shows at the Coliseum. So that gives you an idea of how popular they were back then. That's 60,000 people roughly if they sold out every show. I still have the little flyer from KISW that they were handing out. I still have mine. And so I was in 6th grade then. And but I heard music around the house. My parents were into Motown and doo-wop and the Beatles and Elvis, and it's the 70s, so I heard easy listening stuff, Barry Manilow and Neil Diamond, and so that, and then disco, happened. So all of those things kind of filtered in, and then I heard Kiss, and that became this whole other realm. But I still have an affinity for some of that other music that I heard as a kid, and I didn't really start branching out from metal until probably when I started playing guitar. And really into high school, I got way into the Eurythmics when they first started coming out in the 80s. I loved Annie and Dave's stuff, and then when I found out they wrote their songs, that made me like them even more. I saw them live in 1986, and I thought actually they weren't going to be very good live because everything sounded really electronic on the recordings, and they're fantastic live. Even my mom will probably attest to the fact that we were blown away by them live. They had this amazing band that had Clem Burke on the drums from Blondie. They had Chucho Merchant on bass, who was a South American bass player. They had Patrick Seymour on keyboards. That's imagine I remember all these names. And they had Jeanette Jameson, who was on the background vocals, and they just tore it up. With their kind of music. And I remember they played this it's almost like this Chinese kind of music that was coming over the PA. I can see my mom just said yes, they were. And they had a black curtain with a zipper, like a piece of clothing. And so they were playing this Chinese music over the PA, and the lights started to dim, and the zipper just kind of went down this way to open up the stage. And then they came out there in their leather and white, black and white outfits on, and eventually Annie Lennox came out there, and they went right into Sex Crime, and it was all over. I mean, we were on our feet the entire time, and we're in the back of the arena and everything. But that made a huge impression on me in terms of diversifying what I was listening to and what I was getting into. And so I was like the metalhead. My friend Ken, who was earlier in the chat, I don't know if he's still with us, we were going to all these metal shows, but then I was also into the Eurythmics and Robert Cray and Debbie Gibson and all this other stuff. We went to the Monsters of Rock one night, and the very next night I went and saw Debbie Gibson by myself because nobody wanted to go. But for other people, what was your first concert? I'm just curious.
I think my first concert was back in my sophomore year in high school. I went to go see Green Day.
Okay.
It was Green Day with Jimmy Eat World and Flogging Molly. So.
And were you in seats? Were you on the floor?
No, we were in the floor. Yeah, floor.
Okay. And were there seats on the floor? Was it like a pit going on, or?
No, no seats. It was just standing. Yeah, standing room. Outdoor at the Giant Stadium.
Oh wow!
So that was probably 2004, 2003.
Okay. Amy or Lisa?
Well, for me, I think we actually addressed this one the last time we were talking about shows, but Neil Young was my first one.
Oh, that's right.
So it would have been in 80 something. I was pretty little at that time. I went with my parents, and I'm sure they kept us out way too late too. But I'd like to see him again as an adult, and missed him this last time, but maybe the next time.
Okay, that's right. I do. As you sent that, that's exactly what you had brought up before. Neil Young. That's awesome.
My first concert was Cyndi Lauper, and it was a really big deal. You know, had like the jean skirt, had some great hairspray going on. I think I got to crimp my hair. Like, it was a big night in my life. Concerts start late, as they do, and I think she was a bit late coming on. So I saw the opening act, and then she came on stage, and I fell asleep. I'm not a night owl. My mom said, she's dancing in the aisles and it's loud, and I'm just snoring and out. I can't stay up late. So I think I saw her on stage. Yeah. It was a great night.
Amy, are you still like that now? You're not a night owl at all?
Nope. Early to bed, early to rise. Nope.
I'm so the opposite of that.
I don't know if I could sleep through a concert. I'm a light sleeper, but nope.
Depends on the concert, I think.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, and I see Industrial Girls talking about she saw Garbage for her first show. And my friend Ken is saying I was going to mention Debbie Gibson, but you beat me to it. So he remembers. I was into that whole thing.
I remember Debbie.
Yeah, I saw her live 3 times in a row. Out of the Blue, Electric Youth, Anything Is Possible. My friend Steve and I, at the Paramount Theater here, down in the orchestra area, they had no fans down there for that show that I saw. And Debbie noticed that. So after like the first song, she was like, "Hey, I want to have some fans come down here so you can be close to me." So we looked at each other and we went right down in there. And so we're down there, we're pretty close to her. And I don't know if he remembers this, but I distinctly remember this. She was like singing, and then instead of like, people had their hands up and all this kind of stuff, she reached over some people to grab my hand during one of the songs. So it was like that whole moment, like, ah.
Never washing this hand again.
Yeah. If I could, I need to preserve this hand somehow, bronze it.
You've got to get that glass thing like in Zoolander with David Duchovny.
I think that's the thing, when somebody's on stage and everybody feels that they're looking at you, but like sometimes they are, and you can feel it in your soul, and it's just so deep. It's like, we're having a moment. I can feel it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I was gonna say I did see Kiss live, and they were great too.
Oh.
Yeah, I saw them live maybe like a decade ago. The local rock station in San Francisco would always have like a yearly concert called the Bone Bash. So the year I saw them, my brother got tickets for my birthday, and it was Motley Crue, Kiss, and I forgot who the opening band was. It was somebody local, but yeah, they were great.
I saw that tour here at White River, where it was Motley and Kiss. And what I remember about that show is that Motley Crue were so loud. I always wear earplugs to concerts. I have since 1986, and my ears actually hurt with the earplugs in. It's like, and we were not close either. It's like, oh my gosh, why are they so freaking loud? And then Kiss came on after them, and they had the right volume, and they've been doing this for a long time, and their show is the way it is. And I think even if you're not even a fan of the band, you will be somewhat entertained seeing Kiss just based on what they do. There's always something to look at going on. But yeah, that's all I remember about that Motley Crue part of their set was just so freaking loud. And there is a father with must have been his son, because the son was like this, trying to hold his ears. And I felt so bad. You know, if I had another pair of earplugs, I would have given them to him, because you could tell that kid was not comfortable listening to all that kind of thing and that level of noise. And I know they have them usually at the merch booths and that kind of stuff. But even just sticking some Kleenex in your something, you know, it's going to help deaden some of that sound. But I know some of the hearing that I lost came from seeing AC/DC in 1982, when they always bring the cannons, which is kind of part of their deal, and they do For Those About to Rock. They end all their shows on that song, and they shoot these cannons. But back then, I don't think they realized how to like have the explosion be like not so freaking loud. So they kept coming and doing that during the parts of the song. I think my mom attested the same thing, because she was at that show, and so was my brother, that we lost some of our hearing at that show when those cannons were going off. And I was in 6th grade. So it's like, it wasn't until Iron Maiden in 1986 that I started wearing earplugs. And sometimes I would bring extras in case they fall out because you're moshing around. And my mom just said, me too. So she lost some hearing at that show of AC/DC in 82, but it was a great show. But I sacrificed something, because of it. I'm just curious, have you guys seen any shows that you're like, I saw people doing this thing on Facebook where they're like talking about the first concert, best concert, all these kind of things. Some band you've seen the most, but they also talk about like a show that was disappointing that they saw. Has there been any bands, or even not even just bands, but it could be a theater show, a musical, something that you thought, oh, it wasn't quite what you hoped it would be?
I've walked out at intermission probably twice. It takes a lot for me to do. I don't like to be that person. I like to give the chance. And out of respect and love, I will not name those theaters or plays. But at some point, I'm either falling asleep, or in one case, it was so bad. I just couldn't. Love and respect the craft and the attempt, and more power to everybody. But at the end of the day, it's like, I'm going to go home.
Anybody else?
I'm having trouble thinking of one that was truly awful. And again, I probably won't name the ones that, that haven't quite lived up. I think what maybe is a more common experience for me, because I'm pretty lucky in being able to choose the things that I want to see. So usually there's a good chance that I'll like it. There have definitely been some that are just too loud to enjoy, where the sound is distorting because it's so turned up. But I think the other is a band I thought I liked better than I did, because I knew, one or two of their songs. And then, when we get to a full set, it's like, oh gosh, I don't know any of these. So, I think that would be the worst experience. But yeah, I've been lucky to see some amazing music. That's, real privilege. And I can't wait to do it again.
Yeah, I don't think I've had any horrible experience. Yeah, I've been trying to think about it. And I think if I did, I stuck through it hoping that it'd get better, but
yeah, I'm like Amy. I have such respect for anyone doing anything creatively, artistically, that I feel partially bad when I was like, I don't want to leave, but and I'm not going to name where this was or who this was, but it was so bad that by the intermission, I had to turn to my guests. It's like, are you having the same interaction that I'm having in terms of this is really not working for me at all? And they're like, so I was like, okay, we're thinking the same thing. We should probably just exit and, just call it a night kind of a thing. And I've had the same thing with bands, and I feel bad too, because especially if it's something that I'm reviewing, and it's like, well, I need to give them a chance. Maybe the last song will be really good. Who knows? Especially if it's a band that I'm not familiar with. But and Carlos, this kind of goes back to what you were asking Amy and Lisa earlier on in this fun table about can you still work in healthcare and also do the artistic things. When I was working a full-time job at one of the places down in Redmond, I was on call 24/7. So not only was I working like it was Tuesday through Saturdays and covering shows, I might have like 4 concerts in a night in a row on top of that. So I'm like, I already know I got to be at work at 6 a.m. I've got a big presentation to do. I got a training to do. And here I'm in this club and this band is not working for me. I want to go.
Yeah.
And it becomes this weird kind of like, so how bad do I want to go? And how I want to be equitable to both jobs that I do. But there's sometimes I'm like, I just got to go. This is not worth it for me to hope that it gets better when I know for a fact there's going to be a lot of pressure on me the next day or whatever's coming up at my day job. And I hated it because I felt like I'm cheating out on what I was, gifted to do by being put on the guest list. And I can think several times I had Friday, Saturday, Sunday shows. So the Sunday show was fine because I didn't have to work on Monday. But the Friday show, I'd have to be at work on Saturday before 6 sometimes. And it was like, oh my gosh, I hope this band is good. Or maybe even if sometimes they actually were good, I still had to leave early because the set was going along. It's already midnight. Like, I got 30 minutes to get home. I got to get to sleep. I got to get, all these kind of things. But yeah, from a concert standpoint, I was trying to think if there was one that was just so bad that like, kind of like what Lisa was saying, for the most part, I've been really fortunate that even if it's a band that I don't know or a genre that I don't normally cover, just being in that environment, I always like it. It always makes me feel good. But there have been times at some of the other arts things where it's good. I just don't understand what's going on. I don't know what I'm supposed to be. I don't know how to feel about it. It's kind of like, well, this is interesting, but is it going to get better? Am I just not to that level of comprehension of what I'm supposed to be looking at? But then I'll usually stick it out for a while and see if I start to really connect with it. But I'm sure there is a band in there somewhere who was like a headliner where I'm like, oh man, what happened? But I can't think of any of them right now. That's probably because I really want to see live stuff again, so I don't really care who it is.
Right? Yeah.
You could be the worst band in the world. Just play on the stage, please, so I can come see you and say that at least I was there. And yeah, you weren't very good, but I took pictures of you or whatever. I only have one show that I hated only because it was my favorite band. And I broke my ankle during the first song because I got knocked down and trampled on. That sounds familiar, Industrial Girl. I think you had mentioned something that maybe during the Alice tour about. Actually, I think you've had a couple things where I think you got elbowed by somebody or someone was being a jerk in the pit or something. Crazy things at shows sometimes for sure. But wow, I don't know. I think I don't know if they're doing that around here, but aren't movie theaters kind of doing the 25% thing, or they can? I thought the thing down in Edmonds, there's that local independent theater in Edmonds that they're going to show like old movies for like for $5 or something because they can't open for like have 50 people inside. I think I saw. But I mean, I'm not going to be going, but just the fact that it's out there. And I think the other issue is that I don't think there's necessarily anything new for them to show.
Yeah.
Nothing's been made. And that's why every time I get an email from an advanced screener for me to review, I'm kind of like, where are these movies getting made at? Were they just sitting on the shelf for a year and now they're finally coming out? Or some of these things? And granted, some of them are foreign, so I understand maybe they're able to make things during 2020, but other ones they clearly aren't. I just don't know, where did this come from? But I got knocked out at a ministry show from an elbow to the head. Okay. Oh, and the douchebag was at Static X show. That's right, that you were talking about. Yeah, you've got some tales from being at some pretty crazy shows. It sounds like. I'm 5'5", so I have to stay away from those kind of things. Even when I was younger, I was like, I just can't hang with those kind of crazy pits that I go to sometimes for death metal shows and some of the other crazier things I used to go to. But wow. Well, is there anything that you guys are looking forward to? Anything that, on a personal level, you got something coming up, or on a professional level, you got something coming up in the next, few weeks, months, even further down the road, like you're hoping that you finally get to do this kind of thing, or it's like, no, it's just like taking it day by day?
Yeah, I'm taking it day by day just because things are so unexpected. Just when you think things get better, you take a few steps back again. So I think, yeah, and the fact that I do it day by day is because if I think about it too much, I think I'll just get disappointed by the results. So better to keep like a clear mind of what's going to happen the following day.
Mhm. I've got a laundry list of books that I'm just making my way through. I'm a big reader, and there've just been some books are very nice, but they don't kind of change your lives, and then others kind of just rock your world. And I've had some really good experience with those. So I'm kind of picking which ones are next. I just finished a great one, and on to the next. And then I'm turning 40 next week, so I'm excited. It's obviously not the big party. For years I've been planning on one of the big costume party and music and dancing, just everyone having fun. Definitely dress up, theater people. So that's not happening. I'm going to try to do some sort of like virtual karaoke thing, because I'm not a singer, but I know plenty of very, very talented musical theater actors and singers. So I would love for them to sing and have some sort of kind of live experience. And then I'm going glamping for my actual birthday. So that's what I got my on, unless it snows too much, which I don't think it's supposed to stick too badly, but that's a birthday in February. So yeah.
Nice. Well, happy early birthday
Thank
to you.
Thanks.
And Lisa, anything come to mind?
Yeah, I think I'll also be taking it day by day. Work will stay very busy, so I'm not short on things to do right now. But I'm really looking forward to the warmer weather coming back and getting back into the mountains. That's been one of the fun surprises in a pretty treacherous year overall, is to get to spend more time up in the mountains. We don't usually have time to get away to so many different places, and so we found some really, really cool new ones, or reminded ourselves of some places we hadn't been in a while. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Nice.
I think that's really true, especially, in the winter. Seasonal affective disorder is a really real thing. Anytime in the winter, but particularly in the pandemic. So getting outside as much as possible, I think, is such a great idea.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah, and Carlos, I see Industrial says hi, Rowan, because she saw her walk behind you. I saw her walk behind you too.
Yeah, I just told her to. She's like, ah.
Well, everybody, I think this is a good time to kind of wrap things up. And, Amy and Carlos and Lisa, thank you so much for taking the time, for being here and just kind of shooting the breeze about different things. And I think we're all kind of in a similar headspace about, trying to be positive and doing the best that we can to look out for ourselves and our fellow person. And that we have some hope of what this year is going to start to eventually become. And then, so if we are back for another fun table on any given group of guests, then maybe we'll talk about some of those things that have been positive and improvement changes and all that kind of thing. So thank you. And everybody that's watching, Industrial Girl 25, thank you for joining us as always, and stay safe down in East LA. And my mom and anyone else that's out there that's not in the chat too often, thank you for taking the time, and have a great rest of your weekend, great rest of your evening. And again, if you want to see me talk to Emma Zolan from Serenia on Monday at 9 a.m., which is pretty early, I will be ready to roll with her, and she's a fantastic singer. So everybody, have a good night, and I will see you later.
Thanks.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.